A very good morning to you and welcome to TalkSport 2 and our live and exclusive coverage of India against England and the first Test match. Tea time at home yesterday was about Scotland's victory in a trophy made from Calcutta rupees. This morning in Chennai, it's about Joe Root's side trying to press home their advantage. They have 555 on the board already, so the question will be, how many is enough to try and get a win in this first match of the series? We'll find out shortly here on TalkSport 2. Very good morning to you. I'm Andrew McKenna and we are 15 minutes away from day 3 of this first Test match getting underway in Chennai, where yet again it's a glorious day. It's beautifully hot. The weather hasn't really changed in the first couple of days and we're not expecting it to throughout the course of this match. So it's due to be round about 30 degrees with 80% humidity. And a penny for the thoughts, therefore, of the Indian fielders who've been out there for 2 full days. England have 555 for 8 on the board at the moment. Joe Root with a brilliant double 100 yesterday. Ben Stokes with 82. Dom Sibley, of course, on the first day with 87 have set things up. Steve Harmison is with me. Steve, as I mentioned there, it was another brilliant day. Joe Root, when he won the toss, what seems like an age ago now, this is the stuff that he was dreaming of. This is the conversations that he was having in those team meetings, saying, boys, we need to bat in the first innings and we need to bat big.
Yeah, good morning, Macca. Good morning, everyone. Absolutely. 2 perfect days for the England captain. It couldn't have gone any better for him on his 100th Test match, 218. I think the way Ben Stokes and Joe Root played yesterday morning, first session, really set the game up. Came out, didn't lose a wicket, accelerated the scoring rate, watchful in the early part, and as and when they needed to go through the gears, they did. It was a gem of an innings by Ben Stokes, just to take the pressure off the England captain when he was having a little bit of trying to get some energy back into his body for him then to go again. You know, little cameos. Ollie Pope, I thought, batted beautifully as well as Joss Buttler, and it's all about where England see this game going. There's a lot of talk yesterday about with us lot in the commentary box about the declaration, but England have set their stall out pretty much from ball one in the way Chris Silver wants to play. We get runs on the board, we bat big, we bat as long as we can, and we try and bowl a team out twice, and after that, and that seems to be what the game plan is for England.
Well, we'll find out as the day progresses how England want to take it. But let's take you back to day 2 of this match. I'm bringing the highlights of yesterday because it was another belting day for England here on TalkSport 2.
Oh, good shot. It's full from Ashwin. He says, do you want to come at me? And the answer is emphatic. Root taps the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stands and cuts. Beautiful stroke. Quality shot.
Ben Stokes gets a full wide delivery and drives through the covers for 4 more.
And Joe Root, easily as you like, just pushes into the offside, into cover, and takes a single to take him to 150 not out. Has he ever played better than this? Guess what? Ben Stokes does it again, pings it out the middle, back-to-back reverse sweeps to take him to 50.
He's just having a net, Ben, isn't he? Slog sweep once again and connects with it beautifully through mid-wicket for 4 more. That is his 5th boundary in the last 3 overs. He is absolutely flying along now.
Oh, he's down the pitch there, and he gets all of it way over mid-on, maybe into the top tier of that stand. Beautiful ball strike from a wonderful batsman.
Slog sweep here as Shahbaz Nadeem comes back into the attack. It's caught at deep backward square leg. Ben Stokes, who's profited so richly from the slog sweep, has perished to it in the end.
Ashwin in once again. Root's coming down the pitch. He's going over mid-on. Has he cleared it? Yes, he has! Double. Joe Root, double 100. Take a bow, captain, in your 100th Test. Well, we've reached that point of try anything if you're the captain, and Rohit Sharma will be turning his arm over.
Down comes Pope. Nice, really nice. That is a super shot. That's close to LBW and maybe LBW. Yep, it sure is. And England are not to review it, I wouldn't think. He looked in front of all 3, did Ollie Pope.
That's as out as they come.
No, they asked for LBW. Oh, he's given it out. He's given it out. He'll definitely review that.
Pitching in line,
impact in line, wickets hitting.
This, of course, won't receive a standing ovation from a crowd, but everybody in their hearts will be applauding an outstanding performance in his 100th Test match. The England captain is finally out for 280.
Butler's there and he's caught behind, is he? They're pleading with umpire Chowdhury to stick his finger up. Butler's come forward. Oh, that looks like a regulation, Nick, all day of the week and twice on Sunday. And that is 500 for England. That will rub salt into the Indian wounds.
525 for 6. Ishan bowled him! He's left it alone. Butler's left it alone. There's just a little bit of drift back in towards the stumps.
Bowled him! First ball, Jofra Archer done completely by Ishant Sharma.
Dom Bess goes and clips it into the leg side, and Rohit Sharma drops a goober. That's an absolute dolly.
Rohit Sharma not fancying facing James Anderson for 1 over with a brand new SG ball. That's what that is.
Last ball of the day, Jasper Bumrah into Dom Bess, and he pushes it gently up to Ashwin at mid-on, and that's the end of the day's play.
555 for 8. Dom Bess 28 not out. Jack Leach 6 not out are the not out men. Steve Harmison has already talked about the fact that England have stated their desire to bat big and put on first innings runs. We are keeping an eye on declaration because we've got to do that. So technically speaking, we have just gone past the mark that if England wanted to declare overnight, what they would need to do, you have to tell the umpires 10 minutes beforehand because they therefore have to roll the wicket, remark it, etc., etc. There is no indication that they have done that yet. And that's probably no surprise because when Ben Stokes spoke with TalkSport 2 at close of play yesterday, Mark Nicholas asked him about the possibility of a declaration.
I think if you win the toss and bat first and you're declaring with 10 overs to go after on day 2, that's a pretty rogue decision to make.
Right.
This wicket's not going to get any better.
Right.
I think you look at the way how Test cricket goes out here. If you bat first, you bat for as long as you possibly can. You want to get 600 and only bat once. Because as we know, the wickets out here don't get any better.
So there you go, Harmy. That from the vice-captain's mouth, there's clearly no indication and no thought of declaration. So it is going to be England will bat until they're all out.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I look at what Root said as well. It come from the vice-captain, but the captain said it as well. He wants 600, 700 after that first day when he came off. And my only, and it's not a criticism against anything that what they're trying to do. But my only concern is that the way Test match cricket is now, preparation times, and what it's like as a fast bowler, to go and try and bowl for 3 days, or the majority of 3 days to get 20 wickets, when Archer and Stokes haven't had a great deal of bowling under their belt, you're potentially risking injury, and that for me would come into my mind, but it wouldn't sway my decision wholly. I'd look at it and think, you know what, as much as I want in this game plan, it's great, and can we get 600 on the board? And I think if you get 600 runs on the board in this Test match in the first innings, they don't lose. But then if they have to go and bowl, Stokes has to bowl 35 overs between now and the end of Tuesday. So does Archer, maybe he's a little bit more. Anderson, well, it's not really an issue. He's bowling Sri Lanka. Broad could come in. Broad's going to come in for the second Test match if need be. And then you've got your two spinners who, to be fair, who probably need a good bowl. But my worry would be the Archer Stokes. Have they got enough bowling in them to go and get 20 wickets in the next 3 days, then pitch up again after? I know you worry about after because you've got a big squad, but that would be my only concern. But hey, as a rule, if they can get 600, if they can get as many runs on the board, if they can start run up and down this wicket for the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and demoralise Rohit Sharma, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, all these players who are going to, Shubman Gill, very, very inexperienced, keep them out there in the sun for 25, half an hour, looking at especially if they can hang around, looking at the dressing room, looking at the captain, thinking, when is Joe Root going to wave and bring them in? And that there is a massive sort of psychological message on the Indian players.
Yeah, the only thing you'd say to that is so far we've had 8 wickets in 180 overs. That's an average of a wicket every 22 and a half. Now, things will speed up, and of course, when the wickets start to do a little bit more as days 4 and 5 come into it, but that would be in the back of your mind. Jared Kimber is our analyst and has been running the numbers once again. Morning, JK. What have you got for us today?
So this is the 4th highest score in Chennai. And the highest score at Chennai to lose in the first innings is 477. That was England in 2016. So they're well beyond that. Only 6 teams in the history of Test cricket have scored over 550 and lost. No team, in the first innings I should say, no team has scored more than 600 in the first innings and lost. There have been 45 500-plus scores in the first innings of India. And 24 draws, 19 wins, 1 tie, because Australia made 574 and managed to tie that. What I'm saying is there's a lot of talk about how England need to bat and bat and bat and bat, but they're actually already sort of beyond the mode of where you would expect to win or draw a game. So I can see why they want to bat on. I'm not saying they're wrong at all, especially batting maybe for another half an hour or so, but it is already a huge total and very unlikely that England would lose from here. It would take an incredible effort from India.
Yeah, and I agree with that when it comes to the run score. And I just think, Jared, it's time on the wicket. The more time they've got on this wicket, the less time, the more time they can sort of run up and down the wicket, the more time the wicket deteriorates. We've seen yesterday, there's quite a bit of turn from outside the rough, but actually on the good parts of the wicket, it was relatively good. It came onto the bat, didn't really spin that much. So I think it's more time on the surface rather than the runs on the board, because I think the time on the surface means it's less time, it's less good time for the Indians to bat on.
Yeah, I don't think what England are doing are wrong, and even if they batted on for an hour today and got it up to 650, I don't think they're wrong. But I think there's been a lot of talk about how you can make big runs in the first innings in India and then still lose the test. England are at that safe area. There's no magic safe area, obviously.
So, Jared, you have watched England in the last decade or so.
I've also seen Rohit Sharma, Gill and Sharma and Kohli as well. They have the ability to score big runs very, very quickly. So, Rohit Sharma could make a 100. Sehwag made a 100 at Chennai with a strike rate of 109. Sharma has that ability as well, and he could demoralise Bess, especially. And
actually, he needs some runs at the moment, doesn't he, in Test match cricket, Rohit? So, in a way, it's kind of set up for him so he can play his natural game.
I think he averages 70 in India and 20 away from home. So, he's good at home, but you're right, he definitely needs some runs.
And when you look at it in this game so far, you take the first 2 sessions out of it, there's been nearly 100 runs in each session scored. So it's not as though it's difficult to score out there. There are runs out there. When you look at especially when you look at the bowling figures, I think there's only been about 16, 17 maidens in the whole. A little bit more than that. But you look at Ravi Ashwin, he's bowled 50 overs, one of the best spin bowlers of all time in India. He's bowled 50 overs and only 5 maidens. So there are scoring options out there. This game isn't just going to go, right, 4 men round the bat and we're just going to attack. I think there are periods where England might have to ring field it and try and put pressure on the Indian batsmen to stop the scoring rate, to then put pressure on them, to go again and put pressure on them. So it's going to be intriguing to see how far England go, first and foremost, and then to see what there is, especially lateral movement. James Anderson, brand new ball, lateral movement. If they can get it going, I think England have got great chance to make inroads into hopefully an Indian side who will be a little bit demoralised if they're out there for more than 20 minutes.
22 maidens in 180 overs sent down, to answer your question, Harmy. Well, the players are on the way. Virat Kohli leads his side into the field for the 7th session. Yes, England have kept India out there for 7 sessions, and here they come. Don Bess and Jack Leach are making their way out. They will take their guard. Gareth Batty joins us in the commentary positions. Good morning, Gareth.
A very good morning, man, and a very good morning to those of you who've got up extremely early this morning to watch England kick on what has already been a brilliant first innings score, and looking to really grind Virat Kohli and his Indian side into the dirt that's turning redder by the day in Chennai.
It certainly is. The sun is beating down. It's another glorious Chennai day weather-wise. Can England turning it into a glorious day, cricketing-wise as well?
But so just before we get started, a quick question on England's spinners when they get the ball in hand. What sort of pace and what would the mindset be having a look at this surface?
I still think first innings you need to be smart with varying your pace to find out what your stock pace is, what your best skill will be. Yes, you've gleaned some information on the 3 Indian spinners, but you still need to stick to your main strengths in this first innings until the pitch deteriorates even more and then dictates that actually, right, now we need to drive it in a little bit more. Because you've got your footholds, because you've got more deterioration on the pitch, it dictates that you need to be a little bit quicker and a fraction more direct into those areas.
Ravichandran Ashwin will be the man to bowl the first over of the day. He's bowling his off-spin around the wicket to the left-handed Jack Leach. There's a slip, silly point. A man on the drive on the offside, a short mid-off. And here he comes for the first one. There's a bit of air in that, and Jack Leach is pushing out on the offside. And there is no run. Jack Leach resuming 6 not out from 28 balls faced. 1 glorious 4 when he came down the pitch, and he's driving into the offside this time, and he takes a single to mid-off. Easy as you like. Jack Leach goes to 7, England 5, 6 for 8.
Yeah, exactly what you've been saying, Harmy, about time out there in the pitch deterioration. We saw the sort of pitch report this morning, and inside the 5-foot mark, there's a decent amount of wear and tear. So when the ball is full enough to be driving, we're asking some questions now. Still a 2 foot either side of that. It's not as bad. There's a beautiful bit outside the left-hander's eye line from one end, but there's still not masses to work with, to be getting too carried away with at the moment.
Ashwin now prepares to bowl to Bess. Slip and leg slip in place as he goes over the wicket. Bess solidly forward, and he pushes back to the bowler. No run. Bess has 28 now from 85 balls, because he has got a Test match half century. And that best of 57. Ashwin goes in. Seemed to flick that one out the front. Bess solidly in behind that and just turns it out on the onside.
There was a lot of grass on the wicket before the Test match started. Then it shaved it a little bit off.
Ashwin. Bess comes down the pitch to him. Meets it on the half volley. Punches to Bumrah at mid-off, no run.
And when you look at the pitch report going down, the camera hoovering over the top, there's just little bare areas on the, good still, quite compact.
Ashwin to Bess, and again that seems to drift away from him, and he just uses the outside half of the bat to guide it into the point region, and there is no run. And we saw this at the end of the day yesterday, gents, that actually when Ashwin was bowling the carrying ball, it seemed to get some drift, and it actually gripped on the surface as well. And certainly in that first over there seemed to be 2 or 3 there, and he seems to be sticking with that as the modus operandi.
Yeah, and I just wonder if that was more, the batsman had a great point last night, more was a dew factor or the sort of little bit of heaviness in the air from a moisture point of view, where, because Sharma had the same, Ishant Sharma was getting a touch off the surface. But just to finish off on the point on the pitch, there was a lot of grass on the surface before the Test match started, and then they took a little bit off, and then now when you see the camera hoover over the top, the grass is still there, but obviously it's dying because of the heat. But there are little bare patches forming, and over the course of time, the next sort of day and a half, them bare patches are the ones that really will make this wicket very, very difficult to bat on, because they'll be the ones in the eye line of the batsman. They'll be the ones that just get the puff of dust, and they're the ones that are going to be stump to stump, and that's when it's going to be really, really horrendous to bat on. And England will hopefully, because of the time and the numbers they've got on the board, they'll be able to keep men round the bat and really ram home the advantage.
Yeah, it's not just what the ball will do to take a wicket. Actually, it's taking a bit of energy out of the ball to make it harder to score as well. So the runs that England have accumulated will be even harder and doubly hard to actually achieve and get to from an Indian point of view. So it works double-fold with England, so that's why they're still batting on. They're saying, give it that opportunity for us to take the 20 wickets we need to win the game, but also it's going to be so much harder to score the runs required to avoid the follow-on and take the game deep from an Indian point of view.
Well, Jasprit Bumrah will bowl the second over of the day. Eventually, he's having a real stretch and run through, and now he is eventually on the way to bowl the second over. Right arm around the wicket, and Jack Leach is just playing defensively from the crease. Couple of slips in place, gully as well, as Leach just blocks this one out. Worth remembering, of course, that India didn't take the third new ball when it became available at 160 overs. So this ball is now 100 overs old, And therefore, yes, it won't be doing much, but also it's going to be pretty spongy, pretty soft. And therefore, if England do want to, if they were for some reason wanting to get on with it, whatever, actually, you won't get as much joy with this ball either. So it's all designed to slow things down a bit. Bumrah around the wicket. Leach is taken on the pads. But I think there's a little inside edge there as he comes forward. Out on the offside. And there's no run.
Yeah, I don't understand why they haven't taken... I could potentially see why last night they didn't take the new ball. Not wanting England to see, and the ice cream van goes again. Goffey's eyes light up because
He's brilliant. I'll have a 99, I'll have a 99. Get in there.
Yeah, a bit of red sauce on it.
So every time I hear that song, or the horn as it is,
Jasprit Bumrah around the wicket, having bowled a no ball. It's full and straight. He's going for the Yorker. Leach doesn't catch up with that one. It's through to the keeper. No run.
it sounds like the beginning of Sound of the Police, yeah, that famous rap song. So it's absolutely uncanny, and I thought maybe this is just one of those things that's in my head, Macca, that no one else in the world is thinking of. I went on Twitter and people are tweeting about this.
Beautiful. Apologies to anyone that maybe the alarm's only just gone off at 4:05 in the morning, and that might have blown you a little bit out of your bed. But yes, they bowled another no ball. They've already gone for more than 18 no balls in the match. They bowled an extra 3 overs. Bumrah is inside portion of Jack Leach's bat, and the ball will run down to short fine leg, and they will take a single 558 for 8 as Leach goes to 8.
And the new ball conundrum is, I thought last night if they took the new ball with when they were going to, which would have been with about 15, 18 overs to go, if it started to misbehave, it started going swing through the air, then it might give England a chance of, well, if it's doing this now, why don't we declare and see if we can make early inroads, get Sharma out, get Pujara in, see if we can get Kohli in with an hour to go. They haven't. I thought they would have took it this morning. Take it this morning. There's no need to hide it now. Get the new ball in Bumrah's hand. See if he could do some damage. You've got two spinners who are going to have a large say in what's going to happen between now and the end of the Test match in day 3. If you could get a new ball and wrap one of them on the gloves, and really, then you make the captain's decision to potentially declare.
Oh, you are nasty.
I'm nasty. I'm nasty.
Here's Bumrah. A wide slip and a gully in place as Dom Bess plays from the crease and pushes out on the offside. No run.
It's not wrong with being a fast and nasty, Darren. They've still got to keep the mentality in there. But again, it's just something that adds to the list of Virat Kohli and decisions that India have made throughout these 2 days that don't really make a great deal of sense.
Bumrah is on his way with that stuttering approach. Then he gets into his stride, and Dom Bess gets another Yorker that he's punching actually pretty cleanly down the pitch past the stumps. It'll be fielded by the mid-on fielder coming around behind the stumps. Dom Bess is playing pretty well at the moment. He looks in good nick.
He's kept his game plan pretty simple, Dom Bess, hasn't he? He's played the ball nice and straight, given the full face of his backmaker's name towards the bowler. He's played quite sensibly. He's played very nicely.
There's a leg gully in place, and a square leg, and a shortish mid-wicket as Bumrah goes in. But that is outside of off-stump, and, well, Dom Bess just takes a stride forward, bat and pad relatively close together. It thumps into the middle of the bat and rolls out on the offside for no run. You do wonder if we're going to start to see some funky stuff from Virat Kohli. We haven't really so far. We've spoken about the lack of short stuff, when it wasn't really going for them. There was no concerted short pitch attack from the bowlers. I mean, we saw a couple of overs from Rohit Sharma yesterday, which, frankly, I might have been slightly embarrassed about rolling my arm over for those. I mean, there wasn't a great deal to it. It's not been a huge amount of invention from the captain in trying something unusual.
I think sometimes you're governed by your bowlers, aren't you, as a captain? And if your bowlers are confident or bowling well or filling in good rhythm, you can experiment more. You can sort of lead them to water. You can say, let's go for this plan.
Ashwin to start a new over. Oh, Jack Leach has got one that really nipped back into him from outside of off stump. and he takes the outside portion of the bat and goes into the gully, and they will take a single. Leach goes to 9, and England put another onto the total set in 559.
The fact there's been 20 no balls in the game probably suggests the bowling unit are just striving a little bit. They're looking for that strength of ball, the consistent stock ball that maybe is what has been the bread and butter for so long.
That from Jack Leach flew past Shubman Gill at silly point. And it's on this occasion best forward, pushing Ashwin into the onside. There's no run. Ashwin from the pavilion end into the 52nd over that he sent down. This occasion, Bess is right forward, covering up, playing it back down the pitch, no run. And this again all indicates that England are going to be wanting to bat for as long as possible. No thrashing from the tail enders. They've gone out, played properly. Yes, of course, they'd had to have a look at a few this morning to get their eye in and just get back going again, but there's certainly no sign of any kind of intent to get on with it. 3 men around the bat of Bess. Silly points, who's now almost silly mid-off as he's come a little bit straight. A slip and a leg slip. Bess deep in the crease, turns it on the onside. Pujara can't cut off at short mid-wicket, and they will take a single. 560 for 8. Jack Leach cops for 1 as he makes his ground from the fielder returning the ball in, but Steve Harmison and England just are continuing on.
Yeah, absolutely continuing on, and Jack Leach, Dom Bess look relatively comfortable, to be fair. Last ball of Jasprit Bumrah, not a bad length ball, splice to the bat you would say, and Dom Bess rocks forward, shows the maker's name, sends it back down, and if you're a bowler that's been out there for 2 days, especially a quick bowler, you're thinking, what am I going to do next?
Ashwin over the wicket to Leach on this occasion, and Leach is coming back forward and pushing it back down the pitch for no run. 2 men around the bat are both on the offside now, with Ashwin coming over. Leach waits. That again has just slid off the face of the bat, goes between the 2 men close in on the offside and goes to backward point for no run.
I know we talked last night about bowlers thinking, well, come on, captain, we might need to declare here, let's get out there and let's get going. And sometimes they can be grumpy, but there'll be one grumpy fast bowler in this commentary box, Harmison or Goff. If you're looking to bowl with that 100 over ball like Jasprit Bumrah is to Dom Bess, and he's just forward defence like that, thinking, well, come on, captain, give me that new ball. Give me that new ball. I'm not bowling with this dog ball for any longer. If we're going to be out here, at least I'm going to have some fun and potentially get an outside edge that might carry.
I think it's the mindset, isn't it, that in India, I get the feeling that Virat and the way his teams are played, they're prepared to take the game deep. The bowlers are prepared to bowl those extra overs. As long as they're controlling their economy, they're only ever a wicket away, and we saw that with Sharma last evening, that he'd done all the hard work and he got the rewards in the end, and his figures looked magnificent. If everybody had jumped on that sort of bandwagon, India would be in a far better situation now, and I think that's kind of how the game is played.
Jasprit Bumrah starting you over here on TalkSport 2. Beats Dom Bess outside of off stump, but it drops short of Rishabh Pant, the wicketkeeper, who takes it as it's landed about a metre in front of him. Should be a bit of a concern, which all goes back to what Army was talking about with the new ball, as it will go through a little bit better. But anyway, we've got the possibility of Ishant Sharma getting to 300 test wickets, of course. He's on 299, but he doesn't have the ball in his hand. It's Bumrah at the moment. 2 for 83 for him. He's in his 33rd. And he's on his way once again, beating Dom Bess outside of off stump. Bess has a little nibble at that one, and fortunately from an England point of view doesn't get anything on it, and it's through to the keeper, no run.
He's a magic bowler, this Bumrah, because of his natural angle. He's got a slightly strange action. It's slightly jerky, his run up, and he falls away with his front side, but he gets his arm up perfect. And on release that time, he just got his fingers wrapped around the ball just to create a little bit of movement on the outside edge. So he's going down that gun barrel straight line with a little flick of that middle finger and just taking it past the outside edge.
In this occasion, he goes in, he's gone full and straight looking for the Yorker. It's drifting down the leg side, and a single will be taken that has come off the pad of Dom Bess. Nitin Menon, the umpire, signals. So Bess remains on 29, but England go to 561 for 8 here on TalkSport 2.
I suppose, question for you, I mean, would you say Bumrah's kind of a line bowler? Because of his action, he sort of has that line and he just tries to deviate off it a little bit?
Yeah, I would say he's more line, hit the seam bowler with, if anything, if he's going to swing it, it's going in. He's not for 1 minute trying to go away. That's why he's so good. That's why his Yorker's so good, because if he gets his line right, it nips away. But from a similar seam position, it swings in. And that's why he's dangerous.
Around the wicket to Jack Leach. He's gone for the Yorker, and Leach just does enough to keep that out. He gets the bat down on it, that then comes off of his foot and rolls just past the stumps. Bumrah's walking away smiling, but in his heart he must have been thinking, got him on that one. That was an absolute beauty.
Yeah, Goffey's talked about it a couple of times, that he has at times kept his stop ball, Bumrah, in and around that 132, 133 Ks. Every single time he goes for that Yorker, it's into the high 140s. That was 143.
Jasprit around the wicket again, full straight. That one's not a Yorker. It's just full of a good length. He's homing in on the base of the stumps. Leach is able to keep this out and turns it away. 39 balls faced for Jack Leach now. He's got 9 to his name. He does some shadow batting while he waits. He mustn't. He's realised, obviously, that what the tactic is from Bumrah. He's just attacking the stumps all the time at the moment. As Jack Leach prepares, taps his bat, now raises it, waves it a couple of times, and he's got into position. And as soon as I say the modus operandi is full and straight, Bumrah, just to keep everyone honest, bangs one in short. And almost as a badge of honour, he might be quite pleased. The umpire's actually given that wide. And I'll say he'll be quite pleased because with a rag of a ball on a pretty slow pitch, he's managed to get one that's actually high enough to be called wide by the umpire. So well done, Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah, but that's not going to affect Leach. Leach and Sibley going for the mantle of England's wall, like Rahul Dravid was India's wall. We got 2 men vying for it for England.
Bumrah in down the leg side. Leach flicks away at this one but can't get anything on it. Pant takes going down the leg side. Yeah, it's a good position from England to be in, and that is the end of the over here on TalkSport 2. 184 overs have been sent down. 562 for 8. England resuming 555 for 8. Joe Root with that brilliant 218 yesterday. Ben Stokes 82 from 118, who admitted in the written press conference that he was embarrassed by Joe Root yesterday because he was doing things that Ben Stokes can't do. There aren't many things that are on that list, Ben. I think you may be doing yourself a little bit of a disservice there, but it was a stunning innings from Joe Root. And England with power to add. They're desperately wanting to turn this position into a win in this first match of this 4-match series. Every ball which will of course be live on TalkSport 2, as will the One-Day Internationals and the T20s. And Ashwin is going to go back around the wicket to Don Bess, who comes down the pitch and plonks him over wide long on and takes 4. Well, that's the first real attacking moment of the morning. And Don Bess moves to 33. England 566 for 8.
Yeah, Ashwin decided to come around the wicket. Bess met him with a fury, danced down the pitch, got offside of the ball, and then brought that right hand just to clip it up and away over that straight mid-wicket catcher that he's got into the boundary. A lovely shot there from Don Bess. Second guessing what Ashwin was trying to achieve and saying, I know what you're thinking, pal, I'm just going to bop you into the boundary boards. Lovely shot.
The 58th 4 of the innings for England. Bess settles in as Ashwin goes around the wicket once again. It's a straight delivery, and Ashwin will get the ball back once Bess has just dropped it down onto the pitch.
And I think it shows as well, Bats, that when he's gone round the wicket, he's pitched the ball in the middle of the stumps to stump, and there's not really much happening.
Ashwin comes in, Bess pushing down the pitch, no run.
Yeah, I might have a theory on that. I think he's going round to the right-hander and over to the left-hander for one reason and one reason only. I think he's trying to make his Karen ball more threatening, because it's the ball that has actually gripped a little bit. And I'll try and explain after this ball why I think that might be.
Is that because of the angle?
I think it's because the Karen ball, because you can't get as much on it. You don't get the same revolutions on that as you would do your normal off-spinner.
Ashwin comes in over the wicket. Bess is using his feet down to the pitch, just pushes it to short leg, no run.
So the strength of ball is far less, so it spends more time on the pitch. Now the speeds might suggest that isn't the case, but I know from feel and I know from talking to other spinners that is the case.
Ashwin over the wicket. It's leg side-ish. Dom Bess turns round the corner and sets off for a single as England go to 567 for 8.
So I suppose it's your fast bowling equivalent of your Darren Stevens of the world in England, where they don't bowl as quick but they swing a Duke's ball all over the place. This is the spin equivalent for me, that it just spends that bit more time on the surface, not through the air, and it just a bit you get more result.
Ashwin, this one is wide of off stump and the carrying ball is coming back into Jack Leach. Good purchase on that one. You'll get some more thoughts from Steve Harmison and Gareth Batty here on TalkSport 2, but Neil Manthorpe will be taking up the ball by ball after that.
It's a fantastic start by England here, and just as we see the slow motion replay of the carrying ball, exactly what Gareth Batty's saying. You know, it spends a little bit more time on the surface, and it's gripped and it's turned more. I'm not sure if that was at the foot all off the surface from Ravi Ashwin, but England, Joe Root again. Everything seems to be going in Joe Root's favour. He wanted time in the middle this morning, a little bit more demoralisation of the Indian fielders. Dom Bess has just bopped Ravi Ashwin over the top into the crowd, into the stand. 1 bounce 4. Everything seems to be going in England's favour at this moment in time, and long may that continue.
Well, the partnership is worth 42 now off 98 balls. Here's Jasprit Bumrah once again, just back of a length, just not full enough to swing on that occasion, and Dom Bess plays it easily, pushing it up towards mid-on, and there's no run. One very well-known Test match captain and a notorious hard man in the history of the game once said, and he may well not have been alone, he may well have been quoting some other hard man captain from another different era, but he did say, here is Bumrah once again, full outside the off stump, and a push and a miss from Dom Bess. But he did say, infamously, when asked why he hadn't declared, he said, never ever underestimate the value of pain in Test cricket. And if you don't know who it was, have a guess, Bats. Australian.
Border?
Steve Waugh, maybe?
Yeah, it was Steve Waugh. As I said, I don't know if it was original or not, but we've are the umpires having a look at the ball?
We've got a new ball. We've got a new ball.
I thought for a moment that I thought that the umpires might, because they are within their rights to force a change of ball, to force the team to take the new ball if they deem that the old one is so ragged that it's unfit for play. But do you think was that a voluntary decision? I think was that. Yeah. Okay. Well, Bumrah's got the new ball in his hand now. 567 for 8. And immediately strikes Bess on the pads, and he's got him LBW. Well, the first delivery with the new ball, and Dom Bess is thinking about it. England have a couple of reviews. They have one remaining, and Jack Leach is being asked of his opinion, and he's decided that Dom Bess has to go. Not going to use up that review, and immediately the new ball is taken. It's success for Jasprit Bumrah. He's been the pick of the attack, and he's got a third wicket now. And England are 567 for 9.
The strange 5 minutes there. Not wanting to take the new ball, then Bumrah's probably thought, you know what, Dom Bess looks comfortable on the front foot blocking me, so let's have the captain, let's have the new ball, let's get it going. And exactly what me and Gareth Batty have been saying there about Bumrah and the way he angles the ball in from the seam. He's nipped one back into Dom Bess. It looked as though it was probably hitting in and around leg stump. England have got one review left, 8 wickets down. You thought they might have just took some more time out of the game, give it a bit of the DRS signal, but Dom Bess was happy just to walk off. Bumrah's got a wicket, and I agree, he's probably been the pick of the seam bowlers, and he's got a wicket in the column, and Jimmy Anderson strides out at 567 for 9, and a very, very happy man, probably to see the new ball, because he'll get a little bit of a feel of what the new ball's going to do. Bear in mind, he's going to have it in his hand, and hopefully in about 10 minutes.
What do you think's going through Jimmy Anderson's mind now? England have got 567 on the board. I mean, it's not like there's great weight of expectation on him.
Possibly why have I got my pads on?
So, seriously, will it feel like a bit of a chore to him now, having to come out and bat?
No, I think he'll still. As a bowler, you never really want to bowl, do you? You know, especially when you're looking down at this surface and think, if we've got 567 for 9, look who's bowling the other side. So he'll have that in the back of his mind as well.
2 slips in a gully. There's a leg gully as well. Here is batter Bumrah once again. Bowls to Jimmy Anderson. First delivery comes off the surface nice and slowly at a leisurely pace, and he just pushes it out on the onside without any difficulty whatsoever. Just confirmation, by the way, that if England had reviewed, if Don Bess had reviewed his LBW decision, it would have been out. It was clashing into middle and leg stumps, and a very, very well played hand though by Don Bess. It's gone for 34. And here is Jasprit Bumrah looking for a 4th wicket, right up in the block hole, Yorker length, but outside the off stump, and nudged away by Jimmy Anderson behind square on the offside. What do you think, Bats? Do you think Jimmy Anderson's is this a chore that he has to go through coming out number 11 now, 567 on the board, or is it a nice opportunity to make a little dozen runs for himself?
I think this part of Bumrah with a new ball would not be ideal for him. But I think if he can have a go at one of the spinners, get a bit of a reverse sweep out, I think he'll take a lot out of that. If he can just get a couple away. Everybody likes to hit a boundary or two, don't they?
Here is Bumrah once more, bangs it in, back of a length, and Anderson, well again, there's no pace on it whatsoever. He just stands up on his toes in the crease and knocks it away with the greatest of ease. 567 for 9. Jimmy Anderson yet to score, and Jack Leach on 9. But just going back to that quote about the value of pain, and unless you've played Test cricket, I believe, you can never really understand. You can imagine maybe how much it hurts. But India now coming out for a 7th session in the field. That's got to psychologically, never mind the physical pain.
Just watch Ravi Ashwin before pick the ball up.
Here is Ashwin, pushes it away out on the onside. Just Jack Leach, no run.
And the ball went to Ravi Ashwin at mid-off just before, and it rolled to him, and as he went down to pick it up, that looked quite painful. 52 overs into a 2-day in the field. That looked very, very painful, so...
Ashwin in once again. Forward comes Leach, and it hits him on the pad. Bounces out towards Pujara at slip. No run.
So I think it's what you mean by pain. Psychological pain or actually physical pain?
I don't know. You tell me. Both, I would think. Here's Ashwin again. Down the wicket comes Leach, using his feet very nicely. Gets to the pitch of it and hoiks it over the bowler's head. Over wide mid-on, actually, and down to the boundary for 4. Good use of the feet, Jack Leach.
Yeah, it was. It was very good. It was quick down the pitch. He'd made his decision pre-ball, I reckon. I'm coming at you. I'm coming for you. And he just sort of, on contact, he just took a little bit of the pitch with him. So there was a puff of dust, but a lovely strike. Good contact.
Ashwin in. Quicker one and a miss-stumping. That's poor. Oh, dear me. That Rishabh Pant kicks the ground in frustration now. Yes, there was turn and bounce. It's a new ball. Of course you're going to expect that. And it was unexpectedly steep bounce, but Leach was a yard and a half out of his ground. He'd used his feet once again. He was looking for another drive. He does now drive along the ground all the way down to Washington Sundar at mid-off and long off, and they go through for a single. But I mean, I sound like I'm making excuses. That was just a really poor miss, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm not one to dig anybody out, but if you're bowling and you keep and misses too many of them, you're pretty disappointed. It's as regulation, I think, as you're going to get, really.
34% of stumping chances are missed at Test level, but you don't get many better views than that one, even if the ball did bounce a little bit higher.
Ashwin in once again, swing and a miss, and I think it was unless he got a bottom edge, Jimmy Anderson. It's running away down to the boundary for 4. Buys, yes it was. Rishabh Pant, I think he's disconcerted. I think he's upset by the missed stumping, and now another one. Carom ball from Ashwin, and Rishabh Pant just didn't read it, just didn't see it. Oh dear, it's missed leg stump. Jared, did you say 34% of stumping chances are missed at test level?
Yeah, I think it's
That's staggering.
Yeah, I think it's roughly the same in one-day cricket as well. So it happens far more than we like to admit.
But and you watch that again. Jack Leach is coming before Ashwin's bowled that ball, and he's that far down. He's nearly run out rather than stumped. He's got his eggs were in one basket there. He wasn't going to try and pat it down a wicket. It was going into the stand. So not a great 5 minutes there for Rishabh Pant.
34% in the modern world of professional sport. How is somebody not getting sacked here?
Here is Jasprit Bumrah, and that's pushed out on towards mid-off, and there's no run. I think that's got to include like every chance, so like even the really, really hard ones. I mean, that was just a regulation stumping, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that includes all chances, but so does most drop catches also do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of everything includes all chances. That 34% still very high. That tells you that stumpings are a very, not an easy art form. That's not protecting Pant because he's just missed 2 in a row.
Here is Bumrah once again. There's a short run up, and it's nudged away by Jack Leach up towards mid-off. That's still just unacceptably high, and that's just a ridiculous number. 34. I mean, if you were to say 34% of slip catches go down, I mean that would be, just unbelievable.
I think it's 22%.
Is it really?
Yeah. I think the worst is caught and bowled. I think caught and bowled is about 45%.
576 for 9. Jack Leach sways out of the way of this one outside the off stump. We say goodbye to Gareth Batty and Steve Harmison for the moment.
So spinners can't complain about all those missed stumpings if they can't catch anything off their own bowling.
34% of stumping chances are missed at test level. At the elite level of the game. That's it's a staggering number. But England have achieved exactly what they wanted to so far. They've batted on for an extra half an hour, and they talked about batting on for an hour if possible. Jack Leach is once again stands in his crease waiting for Bumrah to come into him around the wicket, and up onto his toes he steers it away behind square on the offside. Darren Goff.
Yeah, good morning everyone. I mean, what I would say is, but I'd have been usually disappointed if I was an Indian seamer fast bowler and they didn't take the new ball this morning. Ishant Sharma picked up 2 wickets after tea yesterday. I thought he just got his rhythm right, and he'd wanted that new ball alongside Jasprit Bumrah this morning. Surely India.
576 for 9. Here's Bumrah once again, and that's a low full toss looking for the Yorker outside the off stump, driven into the offside, and Chideshwar Pujara dives to his left to make the stop. Is there a certain kind of bloody mindedness about not taking the new ball, as in, there's no pace on it for the batsman?
I think you're right there, Manus. I think it's purely down to what they didn't want to take the new ball, and it ping off the bat for quick runs. But they're bowling at Don Bess and Jack Leach. They're not bowling at Joe Root and Ben Stokes.
Bumrah in once again, and there's a swish here from Jack Leach. It was a short ball outside the off stump, and he was so late on the shot. That was a quicker one. It's just flown through to the keeper before Leach's swish had come anywhere near it. Yes, Jared.
Yeah, just some very sad news in the cricket world overnight. Ezra Mosley, the West Indian Bayesian bowler, was unfortunately killed in a traffic collision in Barbados. He played 2 tests. He removed Graham Gooch from a whole series by hitting him in the hand. There's a famous photo of Graham Gooch in massive pain, and the West Indies obviously went on to win that tour without Gooch there. He was a rebel tourist, in fact, but still went on to play tests afterwards, which made it very phenomenal, an incredible effort from him. Took 279 first-class wickets at an average of 23.31. He actually played for Glamorgan before he played for Barbados. And so very, very sad news for the world of cricket, really, there.
Very much so. Here's Ravi Ashwin once again, and forward comes Jimmy Anderson playing defensively.
pushes it out on the offside. And actually, one of only 2 West Indian rebel cricketers to have been rehabilitated in the cricket world. Here's Ashwin again. Reverse sweep. Gareth Baddy called it just a few minutes ago. He said Jimmy Anderson would be getting the reverse sweep out as soon as he possibly could. He's hit that straight to the fielder and there's no run, but it's a shot that he enjoys, isn't it, Goffey?
Oh, he loves the reverse.
Pushes this one defensively out towards cover, no run.
Is it his highest score, Jimmy Anderson, against India? I think it is, isn't it? Absolutely. Come on, Jimmy. Today could be the day.
He's yet to get off the mark. He plays a drive down towards long off here. It was a foot and a half outside the off stump, and somehow, rather than hitting it through the offside, through the covers, he's managed to somehow drag it down towards long off. And he's off the mark with that. Single takes England up to 577 for 9.
I think Ashwin here, while he's bowling, he's got 2 for 146 at this time. I think he'll be desperate to pick up that 3rd wicket. He'll be gutted about that miss-stumping.
Down the leg side here, polite inquiry from Rishabh Pant as Jack Leach plays the leg glance, doesn't make contact however. Leach is 14, Jimmy Anderson has 1, and the only man out this morning, Don Bess, LBW. Jasprit Bumrah with the first delivery of the 3rd new ball for 34.
It's an horrible feeling, isn't it? The 3rd new ball. You come out on day 3 and there you go. Let's do it again, guys. Let's do it again. You try and motivate your fast bowler. You try and motivate your spinners. Must have tired fingers, tired shoulders, legs, hamstrings. Oh, this is why Ishan Sharma's out on the field now. He must have been off for a while. He'll be fancying a little bowl if he can. At number 11.
If Jasprit Bumrah doesn't get him first, it is the number 11, Jimmy Anderson, on strike. And Bumrah is into him and just steered away behind square on the offside to backward point. And there's no run.
There's no demons in the pitch, though, is there? We're looking at it now on day 3. The odd one yesterday, I think we started to see a bit more bounce, didn't we? Uneven bounce for the spinner. We've had one delivery like that so far this morning, which caused, obviously, a chance for India, a miss-stumping by Rishabh Pant. But it's still a pretty good wicket. Pretty good wicket.
Anderson on strike. Here's Bumrah once again. It's a bouncer and it's left alone by Anderson, and Rishabh Pant is falling to pieces as a keeper now. He's dropped that one for absolutely no apparent reason, and it's they've run through for a bye.
Well, the one thing with Rishabh Pant, they were even talking about, can they get a keeper in and use him just as an out-and-out batsman, weren't they? Because they're not convinced about his keeping, but his batting, I mean, he's so exciting to watch as a batsman.
And he's a match winner. I mean, he's as devastatingly good and impressive as a batsman as he is modest as a keeper. He's really, I mean, he's just, that's pushed up by Leach towards mid-off, and there's no run. But when question marks are being asked about some aspect of your game, and then you stumble in that aspect, Goffey, you know, that, I mean, he knows that, obviously he's aware of all the talk and the criticism that he's more of a backstop and a bit of a goalkeeper rather than...
But India can't afford to have a backstop, can they? With the types of bowlers they have and the pitches to play on, they need a proper keeper.
Low full toss, looking for the Yorker. Bumrah, driven by Leach up towards mid-on. Just, you know, that, I mean, he's clearly rattled. He looks rattled because of the mis-stumping. You know, and it's like just that one little bit of...
I mean, it's all made worse by the fact that they probably have the best clubman in the world in the squad behind him as well. I mean, Riddiman Saha is a ridiculously good wicket-keeper.
Yeah.
And there was talk of him playing.
He's not a terrible batsman either.
He's a really good batsman.
Here's Bumrah once more, and it's pushed out towards mid-off.
The problem is, I suppose, if they're going to have Washington Sundar and, you know, Ravi Ashwin batting at 7, then that's where Saha, that's where his weakness is exposed if he has to bat at 6. But if he was batting in a very strong lineup and had a good number 6 ahead of him, he's a decent number 7.
Saha's actually opened the batting, isn't he, on a makeshift basis? I mean,
He's just a very, very fine keeper and a brilliant glove man, as you said. 578 for 9. Bumrah in with another short one to Jack Leach. Just sways out of the way of it quite easily. That was not inconvenient at all. Leach remains on 14. Jimmy Anderson has 1. England are 578 for 9.
We've often seen it in world cricket, though, haven't we? The modern day now, where the problem is the best keeper sometimes doesn't get in the side. I mean, we had it in our day to a certain extent. You remember we had Alex Stewart and we had Jack Russell. The best keeper, obviously, was Jack Russell. But when you've got a player like Alex Stewart who could bat anywhere in the top 6 and keep wicket to a very, very high standard, it was very difficult to get Jack in.
Bolden, Ashwin in, has finished the innings. Jimmy Anderson on the conventional sweep shot. Little bit of turn and bounce, and Ashwin has his 3rd wicket, 3 for 146, and England have finally been dismissed for 578. It's a monumental score. No team has lost a test match having scored that many runs in the first innings, and so you would have to say that the game ought to be safe. I have to say it is safe as far as England are concerned. Can they win it now is the question, and India have been kept in the field for an eye-watering 190.1 overs. So England 578, and now finally India get their chance. You always say, Darren Gough, that you never judge a surface, never judge a pitch until both teams have batted on it. And well, by the end of today we'll know just how flat this pitch is.
We will indeed. It's a great effort from England. 578 after winning the toss. You would have dreamt of that before the series started, and it's there. India will be relieved to get off the pitch, but now the hard work begins for both teams. England have to come out, put the pressure on India, and India have to bat well. 578 on the board there from England. A brilliant 218 from Joe Root. Ben Stokes 82, but let's not forget Dom Sibley, a fantastic display of determination and batting on day 1 to get 87, but 578, it's what dreams are made of. Well done, England, but now the hard work begins for the bowlers.
Indeed it does, and to talk you through the prospects, and also to reflect perhaps on this England massive total, the next 20 minutes he'll be in the capable hands of Mark Nicholas.
Thanks, Neil. I'm still smiling to myself about the shock you saw in that stumping, and I think there's something to be talked about there. We've got a few figures to go through in the meantime, but there's no doubt that one of the many reasons for batting on this morning, and indeed last night, is to, if you like, make such things happen. There's nothing worse than a tired team on the back of a great result in Australia suddenly being put through the mill, being forced into mistakes, staring each other down at those mistakes. It all helps to erode confidence in the dressing room, confidence that had been built so high in Australia. Well, we've talked briefly about the card. Let's have a look at the Indian bowling figures, because 2 for 52, Ishant, so tidy, so intelligent, very good yesterday afternoon. 3 for 84, Bumrah. 3 for 146 from more than 55 overs from Ravi Ashwin. 2 for 167 for Nadeem. And nothing for Sundar or Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma just bowled the 2 overs. It's a really hard call, that 190 overs out in the field plus the extra ball. I mean, yes, of course, the old adage about we don't know what a pitch is like until both teams have batted on it, but this is difficult mentally now, isn't it, Goffey, for lots of reasons. Tell me if it was a situation in which you enjoyed beginning to bowl. Did you automatically feel a psychological advantage?
Of course you do. The batsmen have done their job, and 578 is a lot of runs. But sometimes you can go out as a bowler in these conditions. You think, well, the captain tends to be a batsman. He might get a bit carried away. We might start with 3 slips. And I'm thinking as a bowler, I've been watching for 2 days, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get these batsmen out on this pitch? From what I've seen, and when I've seen Sharma and Bumrah bowling well, it's from when the ball has been bowled straight drifting back onto off stump from outside. You have got to get the fielders in the right place, and what might look like a negative fielding position, right, conservative fielding position, will actually be a wicket taking position. So you've got to chat with your captain constantly and tell him your plans on how you're going to get each batsman out. But it'll be interesting how India now come out and play, Mark.
Well, I don't suppose Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill
We ain't gonna block many.
know any other way. They're naturally attacking players. I'll just reflect on the fact that England's highest score against India was back in 2011, 710 for 7. They won the game by miles, an innings and 242. It was an incredibly strong Indian side. So India batted first, made 224. Then England made their 710 for 7. That was Alistair Cook's 294. Owen Morgan also made 100, actually, batting after Kevin Peterson, who made 63. And then up against that sort of a score, a dynamic Indian batting lineup: Gautam Gambhir, Virender Sehwag, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, VVS Lakshman, Suresh Raina, MS Dhoni were bowled out for 240, and England won the game, as I say, at a canter. So even a lineup like that can feel the heat of a massive score. Let's run through the card. Burns was caught pant, bowled Ashwin for 33. Sibley, LBW Bumrah, 87. Lawrence, LBW Bumrah, no score. Root, LBW Nadeem for 218, 19 fours and 2 sixes in that 377 ball innings. He was only, 24 minutes short of 9 out at the crease. Ben Stokes caught Pujara, bowled Nadeem, 82. Ollie Pope, LBW Ashwin, 34. Jos Buttler bowled Sharma for 30. Don Bess, LBW Bumrah, 34. Jofra Archer bowled Bumrah, no score, and James Anderson bowled Ashwin, 1. Jack Leach finishing unbeaten at the end there, and 190 overs. It's a mighty long haul for anybody, and as I say, one of the reasons for keeping him out there, the longer you're in the field, the more little mistakes you make, all these no balls, the mis-stumpings, the sense of being overwhelmed by the opposition must be difficult for any side. One thing I've noticed, when the players come off the field, the coaching staff led by Ravi Shastri are always standing to wait for them and applaud them in, to shake hands, and there's quite a lot of smiles, as if they're trying to just sort of diminish the impact of England's performance and stay within themselves and stay comfortable and positive within that dressing room.
Well, they're in a good place, aren't they, Mark? I mean, they went to Australia when nobody gave them any chance, really, after that first test defeat, that day-night game in Adelaide, and they come back to win that series. So they're in a very good place as a team and as a coaching unit. And to be fair, I actually look at it, and they're coming out on day 3 this morning. They've had a good night's sleep, probably. They've come out this morning, and they've not been out there too long. Yes, they would have preferred to be batting straight away this morning, but they've had to go out there. They've finished off those last 2 wickets. But I think that rest and a good kip last night, you know what I mean, nice cup of tea this morning, and they'll be ready to bat now, these 2 guys. They've seen it's a good pitch, and they'll be looking forward to trying to get in and score some runs.
Presumably Joe Root and maybe Ben Stokes will have advice, not necessarily instruction, but for the bowlers, having spent that long batting on the surface, will they say to them, listen, the way to bowl here is, or do you leave a guy like James Anderson, who's England's greatest ever, to get on with his job?
Well, Jimmy's been watching for 2 days, so he'll have a good idea how he wants to bowl. I don't think he'll do anything different. He's going to try and swing the new ball, isn't he? We know what he likes to do to the left-hander. He likes to make it leave the left-hander with the odd one coming back into him. And with the right-hander, he's trying to hit that off stump, and he can swing it both ways with very little change in his action. He's a superb performer, and that's why he's got over 600 test wickets. So yeah, you can use the experience of Jimmy. You've got Chris Silverwood out there, who's played test cricket. He's been a bowling coach first, and now he's head coach. You've got John Lewis out there, who played for England as well. So there's plenty of advice, and you've got the stat people doing their bits and telling you how wickets fall in certain conditions, how wickets fall in Chennai. So there's a lot of information for the players to take on board. But each one, my best advice is to do what you do best.
Right, well, so that will be to Jofra Archer bowl real quick, because Joe Root said his exact quote was, in the nets, he's bowled the speed of light.
Well, there you go. I mean, but let's not get carried away with Jofra Archer and bowling the speed of light. I don't mind him doing that. But there comes a time where you've got to use your brain as a bowler, and there'll be certain times where he can't bowl at 90 plus miles an hour. And he's a good enough bowler, and he's got enough skills to not have to bowl at 95 or 90 plus miles an hour every game. I've seen him bowl well when he's bowled at those speeds. I've also seen him bowl well when he's not bowled so quick. You know what I mean? He's picked up 5 for Headingley. He didn't bowl that quick at Headingley, and he picked up 5 wickets. So for Chopra, I think the mentality is he's not there just to bowl short pitch bowling. He's better than that. Pitch the ball up, get it in the right areas, and at that sort of speed he can bowl, he'll pick up wickets.
Tell you one thing, as Joe Root gets his team out onto the middle now, the ground staff scurry away. Very small roller, that's even lighter than a light roller, that one, isn't it? It's like a little garden roller.
It's like rolling army up and down it, isn't it?
Easy, Tiger, we've got a long day together in here. I'm trying to set the scene, but we're not in Madras or Chennai. What we've got is another hot day. You know, we know about the humidity in the south of India. We know that potentially England have a long haul, though I do think that an early wicket, you'd expect Anderson to, he's got such a knack of picking up an early wicket or two, and it buoys you for the day, really. If you get a little bit of hard work done early, out of the way early, it's tremendous for lifting your spirits. Shubman Gill really impressed. Well, he's impressed actually in the last 6 months. He took the IPL by storm this year, as did a lot of actually even younger Indian batsmen. And of course he then went and played so well in Australia. It's slightly unorthodox, but really keen to pounce on anything loose, and a lovely attitude to batting. He doesn't look fazed by his opponent. In fact, the bigger the name, in a way, the more he looks as if he wants to take it down, and he's just done that with an attack that reads Stark, Hazelwood and Cummins. Now he's got Anderson and Archer with a new ball. It'll be Anderson with 3 slips and a gully, a backward point, a mid-off, a mid-on, a mid-wicket and a long leg. So an orthodox field, other than point is a long way behind square. Here's Jimmy now, reaches a crease and drifts it down leg side, like the old loosener. Any man is entitled to bowl if he's had his feet up for 2 days.
Well, there's my point, because you look how the dismissals in this game and the field settings, but straight away, because England have got those runs on the board, 578. The captain, what does he do? Puts 3 slips in place in a gully. How many wickets have fell, caught, slip or in a gully so far this test match? But that's pressure, trying to create pressure. You got runs on the board.
And it's Rohit Sharma who's actually taking the first ball, and he stands beautifully on the back foot and just drops the ball into the offside for a single. So India are away. There was a cheer from the curated audio sound, as if somebody who's turning it on and off was mighty relieved just to get going.
Well, Rohit Sharma will be relieved to get going. We've seen 2 ducks so far in this game, Dan Lawrence and Jofra Archer. But there was a little bit of drift there from Jimmy Anderson. Probably he's not up to his full speed yet. Yes, he might have lost a bit of pace, but there's a little bit of a way swing there from Jimmy to the right-handed Sharma.
And he comes again now to Shubman Gill, and that's leg side-ish and worked away with his hip for a run down to long leg. So both openers are off the mark. Yeah, he might have lost a little bit of pace, but the key, as we've seen in the last year, is he doesn't seem to have lost his nip. And that's why he's still a threat. So say he was once 85 mph and now he's 83 consistently. As long as it's still nipping off that seam, you're all right, aren't you?
Well, he puts pressure on the batsman. He's in the ball game, every single ball. He puts the ball on that length, which it confuses the batsman. Do I go back? Do I go forward?
Anderson now skipping in to Rohit Sharma, and again he drifts down the leg side, but that one does seem to have a bit more on it as Jos Buttler takes it with nice footwork at a roundabout waist height. Just a little zephyr of a breeze coming across the ground here. It's almost 25 past 10 in the morning in Chennai, and it's a whole lot earlier here. It's a very dark, cold, wet morning in London at just before 5 to 5. India 2 for no wicket in response to England's 578. The 2 wickets eventually fell, And Anderson gets ones in the slot, and Rohit goes forward nicely. Easy forward defensive. No rush for Rohit Sharma, who, well, he looks unhurried full stop, doesn't he, as a cricketer? But as a batsman at his best, I would say he ranks among the easiest on the eye anywhere in the world.
It is, and I was surprised he's only played 30-odd test matches, Mark. I thought he'd played a lot more than that. I mean, he was late goal, wasn't he, getting into the test side?
Yeah, there's lots of reasons for that, as he waits now for Anderson. That's great delivery, just bounces a little around off stump. Rohit tucked in behind it, end of the first over, 2 from it, tidy enough, but certainly no swing. Yeah, it's an interesting story in that nobody quite trusted him. It's as simple as that. They batted him at 6, at 5, at 1 and at 2. He might have, I don't think he ever batted at 3, but he might have done. And he just couldn't consistently make runs. His promise outweighed his performance, and they saw him in one-day cricket and they couldn't believe it. And it was only really when he was given a run as an opener and told really to play as he does in one-day cricket, but with an added dose of common sense because you're taking on the new ball. He needed to be trusted, and however confident he may look on the outside, his human frailties on the inside were the things that were exposing him at test level.
Spot on. I mean, they were looking for another Sehwag as well. It does remind me a little bit of Sehwag, although Sehwag was different gravy. What a player he was to bowler in any format of the game. But I'll tell you a little short story about Rohit Sharma. He also had a bad injury at one point, didn't he? And I've got a story on that.
Jofra Archer then, for the first time, nice, right on a good length, and what a shot from Shubman Gill. Just one step into the ball, dead still, and one step into the ball, and he met it sort of as it met him. The two forces came together. He didn't have to do anything but meet it, and it went to the left-hander mid-off for a couple.
Solid defence shot, wasn't it? Committed, backed himself, picked it up the length pretty quickly, perfectly into the ball. Just get bat on ball, come to. Easy, isn't it, Batty? Easy.
It is if you're these guys, or if you're Virender Sehwag. Archer again. That's nicely played, almost a sort of symmetrical to the shot before in terms of, so this went out on the onside off the front foot and got him 2 more rather at the equivalent angle to the one on the offside the ball before. 6 for no wicket now.
Yeah, what I was saying about Rohit Sharma is also he went through a spell as well where he really struggled with injury. And when I had my operation, this metal leg I've got, he was in the room next to me, getting operated on by the surgeon. So I went in just before him. So we had a little chat about cricket.
Archer again, nice delivery, which forces a perfect forward defensive. Tell us more. Where was this?
Surgical night watchman, were you?
At the Wellington, near Lords. So I was getting operated on there, and when I got these screws put into my femur, and he was in after me. So when I came round, and he'd come round because he went in after, we had a 5-minute chat before off we went.
Oh, okay. Is that it? Archer again, left alone outside off stump.
Well, it's one of those stories, isn't it? There was this one time.
What was he having done?
Something to do with his groin.
Right.
Yeah.
Good lad, Rohit Sharma, seems it.
Well, seemed I didn't chat to him for that long. I didn't really know him. But the doctor was a massive cricket fan, and he just couldn't believe he was operating on me, and then operating on Rohit Sharma, who had flown in just to get operated by this doctor.
Good story. The last ball was left alone outside off stump by Shubman Gill, who's a tall, slim man. A well-built young athlete, much more the build of the modern cricketer. Archer now reaches the crease. Oh, beauty, lovely. Leaves him off the seam and beats him outside off stump. Shubman feeling for the ball a little, as you do. I mean, you forgive any opener who plays at a ball of that line. Perfect line. Whoa, huge disturbance of the surface when that ball pitched. Watching the television replay, it really does go.
Well, as we talked about, and I think you'll see it a lot from the England faster bowlers, where they'll use a lot of cross-seam deliveries. And I don't think India did it that much on the first 2 days.
Decent pace from Archer, but nothing frightening. 141 is top pace so far. It is again, and it's a pull stroke. Nicely played. He bangs it into the surface, does Archer. And Shubman Gill swings with that high bounce of the ball, hits it down, and wins a boundary. 10 for no wicket from 2 overs.
Well, it's an aggressive start from India, because that was a decent pace short ball, but the intent's there from India. They're not just there to survive. They're going to try and score against the new ball. It's a good time to bat. The new ball coming on a slow pitch, but it's got a fast outfield, and they're going to get the reward. But that's a big shot to play early on in your innings.
Yeah, it was the right ball. Test him once, see how he goes. And he went well on that occasion, though he hit it a little high on the bat. 10 for no wicket in reply to England's 5-7-8. More from Goffey, and Andrew McKenna takes over.
Got the ball around the right areas. Jimmy Anderson, a couple of balls down the leg side. Disgusted in himself, as you would expect when you've got that many test wickets to your name. But 3 slips and a gully. The captain's backing him, isn't he, to try and pick up that early wicket. Not so sure we're going to see that much swing to have 3 slips and a gully. But it's worth trying for a couple of overs. Rohit might just go after one outside off stump.
Well, it's 2 now, because Sibley's gone in at short mid-off as Anderson goes in. Rohit is turning this around the corner through square leg away for a single. And it is 11 without loss. So, yes, now down to 2 slips and a gully with Dom Sibley, the man on the drive. Goffey moves out, Gareth Batty moves in. And early signs, well, good for India. Been in it for everything, though.
Yeah, I also think it's quite good signs from England. Jofra Archer got a little bit of movement there from that SG ball, a little bit away from the bat, and then obviously the disturbance of the surface with the 5th ball of the over.
Anderson on his way, and that is a very solid forward defence from Shubman Gill. Anderson throws it back to Jos Buttler, and there's no run.
And I suppose that's why it's prompted the position that you were talking about, Macca. The sort of mid-off has come up on like a drive man, just in case the ball disturbs the surface and the batter isn't playing it late. If he's playing it a fraction early, a fraction in front of himself, he might just skim the ball back and a catch straight down the pitch.
As Mark mentioned, a very light roller was used between innings. It was about the weight of a baked bean tin. James Anderson in. Shubman Gill. What a shot that is from Shubman Gill. Back past the stumps. Jack Leach at mid-ons on a retrieval mission. The on drive played with the minimum of fuss, the maximum of returns all along the floor for a boundary forward. Shubman Gill is into double figures already. He's got 13 from 9 deliveries faced, and that is an absolutely glorious shot.
Wow. This is so nice on the eye. This is exquisite batting. Elegance, I would probably use as a word. He just leans on it, and it's the hardest shot in the game just to knock it past mid-on.
Anderson in. Shubman Gill has nothing to do with that. Through to the Butler, no run.
What a start from Shubman Gill. He is a classy young player. He's set the IPL alight, which obviously we know is 2020 cricket. But young players now, they don't really see the massive difference between the longer form of the game and the short form. They just fractionally adapt. They keep all those positive movements and intent. Makes for a great spectacle.
It's only Shubman Gill's 4th test match, and he's coming forward to James Anderson, playing back down the pitch to the bowler. In the previous 3, 259 runs at an average of 51.8, 2 50s, and a highest score of 91. Strike rate, by the way, 60.7, just to give you an idea, which is a test match opener, let's not forget.
Macca, have you had a look at his first class stats?
I don't have them to hand, I'm sure you do.
First class stats is 2,529 runs at an average of 66.55.
Anderson is in, and he's taking Shubman Gill on the thigh at the moment. A little bit more bounce on that one, and there's no run. End of the over here on TalkSport 2. India 15 without loss, replying to England's 578 all out earlier on, as James Anderson was the last man dismissed by Ashwin for a single.
66.55.
Yeah, I don't think the selectors have had too much difficulty in selecting this young man.
Well,
he's so nice on the eye, and his numbers back it up. I mean, it's just wow. It's simple.
He's one of those situations where you get a player who looks like James Vince, or you have a player like with James Taylor, and you're like, oh well, he looks good, but his numbers don't back it up, or he makes a lot of runs, but he's got this weird technique, and then you've just got Gil coming along, going, just put my name down on the sheet. We'll work it out later if I start to fail. If.
Jofra Archer starting his second over and beats Rohit Sharma with a beauty. Little bit of nip off the pitch on that one, past the outside edge of Rohit's bat, and it's through to Jos Buttler, and it carried through quickly as well. One in the last over barely made it through to Jos Buttler, but that one zipped through.
Yeah, there was speculation from our resident two nasty fasties, Goffey and Harmy, whether England would get some movement from this brand new SG ball. Not just brand new as in today, I mean the development of it, and early signs are yes.
Archer is in, that's leg side-ish, and Rohit will flick it away through square leg, and he's just going to trot down to the far end because Jack Leach isn't going to get round and cut that one off. It's 4 runs for Rohit Sharma. He goes to 6. India 19 without loss here on TalkSport 2, and also on TalkSport at the moment, as TalkSport join us for a bit of simulcast, and you join us as India in the early stages of their innings, replying to England's 578 all out, and the first boundary from the batter Rohit Sharma takes them to 19 without loss. They are in the 4th over. Archer is in. Oh, that's edge from Sharma, and he's gone. Archer has the first one of the innings, fended by the opening batsman. Edge through to Jos Buttler, and the keeper does everything necessary. India 19 for 1 halfway through the 4th.
Wanted movement, we got movement. Jofra Archer, what a ball this is. This is a ball you'd expect to see bowled at Trent Bridge. He's bowled it just back of a length. Rohit Sharma can't really get forward, can't really get back. Has to sort of play at the ball, fends at it just outside his eye line. A very healthy nick through to Jos Buttler, who takes the catch just above his waistline. We said the ball was moving around for England. It definitely is, and that is a beautiful piece of bowling.
Well, the former Indian batsman Akash Chopra is with us as part of the team. Unfortunately, Akash, I have to bring you in for the first time today at the fall of the first wicket.
I know. Good morning to you and good morning to everyone listening. Of course, when you're chasing a total as big as 578, you want to lay a very solid foundation. Rohit Sharma's numbers are outstanding at home as an opener. He's writing a new chapter in his test career. But dismissed here, an outstanding delivery. We saw glimpses of this early on as well, where Jofra is getting the ball to leg cut, just taking the ball away after pitching, because there's no movement in the air. This SG test ball is not moving in the air. It generally doesn't. But moving off the surface, we also saw a little bit of puff of dust when the ball actually landed on the surface, and his height, the point of release, extra bounce, getting that edge. And yes, I was listening to you. It looked like a dismissal that was not in Chennai but in Headingley.
Well, Chiteshwar Pujara is the new man to the crease. 81 test matches, 6,111 runs at an average of 47.7, a higher score of 206 not out, 1800s. But of course it is the way he goes about his business that everyone talks about. Officially in Test cricket his strike rate is 45. I actually think they should come up with a new name for it, because I think strike rate is the wrong thing when you're talking about Pujara. Maybe it should be leave rate or whatever. Pujara is an incredible batsman. He is the team man. He will do what is required. He bats long. He's Dominic Sibley and then some as far as India are concerned. Archer for his first delivery, and Pujara actually is up on his toes, dropping it into the offside, and is straight away taking a single, rotating the strike, and India are 20 for 1.
You can't blame him for that. He's just seen that absolute peach of a delivery from Jofra Archer. He's thinking the best place for me is to get off strike here and let somebody else deal with this while the ball is moving around like it is. It's going to be a real challenge, I believe, for the next period of play, maybe 2 to 3 overs. We're going to see hopefully this consistent movement that England have produced in these initial openings.
In goes Archer. Shubman Gill leaves it outside of off stump through to Joss Buttler, no run.
Pujara's just finished facing 454 balls from Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood in Australia. There's over 900 balls in the series. He had a strike rate of 29 against Australia. But generally, he does bat a lot quicker in India. And you can see straight away he's a different player than he was in Australia. He wasn't dropping any balls at his feet and taking off in Australia. He wasn't really dropping any balls anywhere in Australia, to be fair.
Well, a lot of the Australian TV commentators weren't overly impressed. I thought it was brilliant what he did in that series. I didn't get that at all. Archer in, and Gill is playing very solidly forward defensive to complete the over. England have their first breakthrough, 20 for 1 here on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. 4 overs gone. And Akash, on Pujara, I mean, it was an incredible performance from him. Although some people will look at the innings played by the other players, Pujara was hugely responsible for that series win, wasn't he? He had a huge part to play in it.
Absolutely, and strike rate, as you mentioned, is just only for the bowlers when you talk about Test match cricket. In Test cricket, you need occupation of crease, and he is best at it. He's not just the best or one of a kind batsman in the Indian setup. He's one of the kind in the world. The number of deliveries that he can play, he can keep or just blunt the opposition, grind them down, irrespective of the quality of pace or spin that the opposition might possess. He may not be the most pleasing batsman on the eye, but that doesn't matter. It's in the end, it's all about the efficacy, the efficiency, and he's someone who scores a lot of runs. And in this series as well, I think if England manages to remove Pujara early, you have a significant advantage.
Absolutely. Be interesting to see if England have worked out some kind of formula or a plan. Anderson will bowl to him. It is straight, roundabout off stump, and Pujara is pushing back down the pitch, no run. Anderson has 2 slips and a gully, and that is, as Goffey was saying earlier, it would be interesting to see what field England would set, bearing in mind that they've seen what's happened. There's very little has happened caught slip and caught gully in the match so far, Gareth, and they did start with 3 in the gully, but very quickly that's down to 2 already.
Yeah, England are in a position where they can experiment with something that India were not afforded that luxury for periods of time.
Anderson is in. Pujara solidly forward, playing it up to Dom Bess at mid-on for no run.
And the last thing you want to be sort of labelled is that you've missed a chance early on. You could have had 3 slips and you've not had that 3rd slip. But quickly, the 3rd slip has gone for Jimmy Anderson. He's now got an extra man in the outfield. He's got 2 slips and I think he's got a gully in. So the gully is there for the fuller ball, I think, where you might get the Indian batsman driving and it sort of spews off the outside edge of the bat.
Pujara waits, taps his bat once, now a second time, and a third as he leaves this one from Anderson outside of off stump. It does shape back in, and Joss Buttler will actually take that fractionally down the leg side, but there is no run.
Yeah, Anderson's just had a fraction of a fielding change. He's now got a very straight mid-on. We saw India do this quite a lot for periods of time. So it looks like Anderson predominantly is going to run the ball back into Pujara, the right-hander, try and challenge his stumps and his pad for an LBW, and then just the odd ball we'll see Jimmy Anderson's brilliant outswinger.
He goes in. Pujara is on the back foot, pushing through cover. Well, square points. Bess will hair off after that one, and he will collect the ball, throw it back into Joss Buttler. 2 are taken. India 22 for 1. Replying to England's 5:78. It is just coming at 5:15 in the morning on Sunday morning. If you are just waking up early this Sunday morning, here joining us here on TalkSport and TalkSport 2, then England 5:78 all out. India are already 1 down. Rohit Sharma dismissed by Jofra Archer, caught behind there, 22 for 1. Anderson goes in. Pujara outside of the bat, along the floor all the way though to Rory Burns in the gully.
Oh, this is batting craftsmanship here from Pujara. James Anderson just got one over on him there, just bowling a very nice length, just outside off stump, leaving him. But Pujara, beautiful technique, addresses the ball with a high left arm, but really soft hands, so it just hits the outside of the bat and runs into second slip all along the floor.
Anderson in for the final time this over. Oh, and that was a little bit aerial from Pujara, in the fact that it's just gripped a little in the surface, taken slightly higher up on the bat, and that man at short mid-on for a second thought he was in business, but it died pretty quickly. It is a dot ball to finish the over. 5 overs gone here on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. India 22 for 1. Our analyst is Jared Kimber.
I've got one for you, Akash. I mean, it's very, very interesting that Pujara's come out playing like a mini Sehwag so far, but obviously that is not normal for him. Most batsmen in the world try to rotate the strike. They don't like to face 6 balls from one bowler. Pujara is completely unlike other batsmen in that he will happily face 24 balls consistently from one bowler. Why do you think he has the ability to do that when most other batsmen really feel the need to rotate the strike and get away from bowlers?
Well, he's just found a different way, Jared, of just succeeding. These things do not matter to him at all. Just rotating the strike.
Akash can continue that point in just a moment as Archer goes in to start a new over. Shubman Gill dropping it into the onside, takes on James Anderson and makes it to the non-striker's end. Anderson's throw just misses the stumps anyway. 23 for 1. Akash, continue that.
When you're growing up, you are always being told taking singles, rotating strike. That's a very important component of a batting and scoring runs. But I think his grounding, his just schoolwork has happened, playing a lot of deliveries from under 14, under 16, under 19. That's all he has done. He's been that one guy scoring all the runs for his state side.
Archer is on his way, and that is roundabout off stump. That is a glorious shot. Clips into the onside. Anderson at mid-on. It was about 10 yards to his right, and he didn't get close to that one. He will go and jog after that one. Pujara has a beautiful boundary 4 that takes him to 7, and it was a ball that was pitching round about middle stump, but Jashashwar Pujara just clips it through the onside. As sweet as you like, Gareth Batty.
Yeah, this is all about the length offered up by Jofra Archer. Had that have been a foot shorter, there's no way you can clip that through the leg side. It's full enough so he can get over the ball, he can get on top of the ball and clip it into mid-wicket.
Archer right arm over. Pujara is pushing into the offside where it will be fielded, and there is no run. So yes, 2 slips in place. Joe Root and Ben Stokes. Rory Burns is in the gully. Dom Sibley started at third slip but has gone into that short man on the drive on the offside. As England try and find ways of keeping things tight and yes, attacking at the same time. Jofra Archer starting to work up ahead of steam in the 6th over of the innings, has beaten Pujara, and the umpire Chowdhury said not out. The appeal came from behind the stumps, from wicketkeeper and slips for a caught behind, but nothing from Jofra Archer on that occasion. I think that might have been Pujara's bat actually hitting his pad that created any noise as it went past. But again, Gareth Batty, Jofra Archer is just getting a little bit of movement off that seam and keeping a very good line and length.
Yeah, and he's working up ahead of steam as well. He's around the 147 kilometres, bowling very quickly. He's operating predominantly with the seam bolt upright, but we saw that ball just a little bit scrambled seam, so that means it's not perfectly straight. It's just wobbling and cantering to the left and to the right as it's approaching the batsman. So will it hit it bang on? Will it just clip either side? And it just clipped the under edge there and left Pujara. Beautiful length. And I think we're sort of starting to understand on this surface that length is key. If you can have that length sort of in and around the top of the stumps, one will just stay a bit lower, one might just bounce a little bit. And with this new ball, we're seeing some movement from the England bowlers.
2 slips a gully, a backward point. Archer goes in. That's full and straight into around about a middle and leg line. Sort of more of a Yorkerish length, that delivery. Pujara is 7 not out. Shubman Gill 14 from 15 balls.
The interesting thing will, at what point will Jimmy Anderson call that, right, the ball isn't going to swing that much for us, and will we try and get the ball to reverse? England definitely will use cross seam and cutters on this sort of surface. They've done it before, and I'd be amazed if they didn't do it again. India didn't really do that very much.
Archer goes in. Pujara solidly forward, just playing out on the offside. And there is no run. End of the over. 6 gone here on TalkSport 2 and on TalkSport, of course, at the moment. India 27 for 1. Yeah, it was interesting because Goffey said yesterday, I'm absolutely convinced James Anderson will get this SG ball to swing. At what point do we expect it to start? Now, we've now had 6 overs, so that initial lacquer now starts to should be off. At what point would you expect that to therefore to start swinging, Gareth?
We don't know because it's a brand new ball. So the one thing we do know, these guys, Burns, Stokes and Archer have been in India for an extended period, longer than the guys who were in Sri Lanka. They were in quarantine before them, so they've had some training. So they would have been practicing with this ball. They would know exactly the timings of it, or in and around the 2 or 3 overs. So it will be in there, but we will get definite signs from England. All of a sudden, the odd ball might not be thrown into the keeper. It might just be bounced in if we're thinking about trying to get reverse swing. We will see cross seam. We will see cutters. We will see the odd extra drive man in there, like we saw with India, but I didn't feel like they did too much cross seam and cutter bowling.
Well, I've overstayed, so I'm going to finish this delivery from James Anderson as it's played by Shubman Gill up to Dom Sibley, the man at short mid-on. With my apologies, I hand it over to Neil Manthorpe.
Absolutely no need to apologise, Macca. A couple of minutes here or there over 5 days, and I think we are definitely going to go deep into 5 days. You would think. So, Chopra Archer asking the hard questions, as England expect, or at least hope that he would. And James Anderson also asking some questions. Has the answer Shubman Gill this time. Nicely back and across, pushes it up on the offside. I must say there have been some rich compliments paid to Shubman Gill, his temperament and his style. Often, maybe not often, but occasionally style is confused with substance early on in a stylist's career. He is aesthetically really pleasing. Here is Anderson once again. It's flicked away behind square on the leg side for 4 runs. It was definitely a half volley length. No swing for Jimmy Anderson. Got the line wrong there. Just started it just a wee bit too straight. It wasn't leg stump. It's probably more middle stump perhaps. But it was the length that Shubman Gill enjoyed. Actually, it was probably leg stump, wasn't it?
Yeah, just possibly going down into that leg stump area, but I think Jimmy Anderson was trying to pull his fingers almost sort of back, almost across the ball, trying to get the ball to hold in the surface a little bit, which is possibly why it went a bit straighter. Not quite an off spinner, but that kind of action on the ball.
India 31 for 1. Jimmy Anderson in once again, and that's pushed up straight towards Dom Sibley at short mid on. We should ask Akash to talk about Shubman Gill, actually. Akash?
Oh, he's brilliant. Of course, stellar first-class numbers. He started as an under-19 kid in that World Cup victory where Prithvi Shaw and Shubman Gill both were a part of that World Cup winning campaign under Rahul Dravid's watchful eyes. I think it was New Zealand, if I'm not getting the venue wrong. And since then, we've been waiting that this guy is going to come, he'll get his opportunity, and he's going to blossom. And that's exactly what he's doing. So pleasing on the eye.
Here is Anderson once again, and this time it's flicked away by Shubman Gill through mid-wicket to pick up 4 more runs here. He does like a full delivery, does Shubman Gill, but he likes a short one as well. In fact, there's nothing he doesn't like. It's really, really stylish. And do you know what I mean, Akash, by sometimes if a batsman's really pleasing on the eye, a real stylist, it can sometimes be a distraction. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, well, it could be, but he's also just putting in the numbers. He's been scoring so heavily, consistently, that his aesthetics are actually just matching the number of runs that he's also scoring and almost forcing you to select him. It's almost impossible to now ignore Shubman Gill.
So style and substance. Here is Anderson once again. That's more of a Yorker length delivery, right up on off stump, and it's nudged away defensively by Shubman Gill to mid-on. And replying to England's monumental 578, India are 35 for 1.
Akash, I've got a little one for you. And I know in the setup that we have in England, a lot of our great players and best players are operating in and around the test team, and the guys that are already at that level. I think it's amazing, and what a step forward for Indian cricket to have Rahul Dravid helping and encouraging these lads through their best sort of years, really. So that, I mean, I'm watching Shubman Gill here, and it looks like almost the finished article. Going through Rahul Dravid's apprenticeship is brilliant.
Absolutely, because see, Rahul Dravid, he's doing a yeoman service because he had an option to actually just coach an IPL side, become a broadcaster, and maybe a bit more.
Pushed out defensively on the onside. He's never been interested in profile, has he, Rahul?
No. So that's the thing. So he had a call to make, a choice to make, which way he wanted to actually have his second innings, so to speak. One was more lucrative, one was always in the public eye. But he decided to just go the other way. He always wanted to work with the youngsters just to make sure that the second generation of Indian cricket is ready. And that's exactly what he has done. Now he's at the NCA, National Cricket Academy.
Here's Archer down the leg side. Just got the line slightly wrong there, and it's left alone by Pujara, taken by Butler.
And he's been working with all these kids, right from start, get-go, not just the technique, because Gareth, you'd also know that it's not just about the technique. Once you're into your late teens, your techniques are pretty much formed. There's only a few tinkers here and there, a nudge here, a push there. But it's more about what's happening between your 2 years. And that's where Rahul has been exceptional.
Here's Archer once again, and that's pushed defensively out on the onside by Pujara. There were some raised eyebrows when he didn't make the team in the first test in Australia.
Well, you could understand why, Neil, because Prithvi Shaw scored a century on his test debut. Followed it up with a run of all 70 odd in the second test match. He got injured, otherwise he would have actually played in 2018-19, the earlier India's tour to Australia, the first time when India actually won in Australia. Prithvi was the first choice opener.
Here's Archer once again, turned away nicely by Pujara, just using the pace behind square on the leg side, and they trot through for an easy single.
And then India went to New Zealand, and Prithvi Shaw, everybody struggled. India lost the 2 test matches, I think just inside 3 days on both occasions. One in Wellington, the other one was in Christchurch. Prithvi still got some runs. He got a half century there, and where everybody else was struggling. So even after a middling IPL, a poor IPL from his standards, it would have been a travesty if he was not given an opportunity at all. So I think what Indian selectors and the team management did at Adelaide was the right thing to do, but now it's Shubman's turn.
And he's grasping it, isn't he? Here is Archer once again. That's a quick bouncer. It's a rapid delivery, that. He's pushing 150 kilometres an hour, over 90 miles an hour at his quickest, but he's bowled a couple of slower ones as well. How much did you enjoy his 91 in the fourth and deciding test match at the Gabba in Brisbane?
I didn't.
It was incredible because I spoke... Okay, sorry, I just jumped in. Because I spoke to his teammates after that, and there was... so on the eve of that 5th day, Shubman went out for a dinner, and he said, what are you going to do? Draw or a win? He said, I'm going to play my natural game.
Archer once
I'm looking
again
for a win.
Turned away defensively, off the glove, I think. So, India moved to 37 for 1. I mean, it's... Talk is one thing, but do you think he really believed that?
The way he batted, yes, he did. Because once he lost Rohit Sharma in the first half hour of the 5th day play, there was all reasons for him to just now drop the guard, just become a sheet anchor, play a different sort of innings, because Pujara was doing exactly the same at the other end. But Shubman just continued to play the way he knows best, and that is just see the ball, hit the ball on the merit, of course. He's not your Virender Sehwag where you see a shorter ball. He's technically far more compact, or even though it's looks like a finished article, but yes, it's still work in progress because it's just the 4th test match. But the way he batted on that surface where a crack right in front of your eyes on a good length area was actually opening up and was looking like something that will have a huge impact on your batting, on the outcome of the game. The guy batted as if he's been playing or he was playing test cricket for the last 10 years. The only little thing that I see in his game is that going, say, 5 years from now, Gill might actually be batting for India at number 3 and not as an opener. That's just my outside observation, maybe a crystal ball kind of prediction. I think that he's more suited to bat at 3, 4, 5 maybe, or rather 3 or 4, as in when that spot opens up. And that is where I think he'll leave a very solid legacy behind once he's done.
Well, I tell you what, Akash, never mind batting at 3, 4, 5 in 4 or 5 years' time. We've got a concern for Shubman Gill right now, because that last delivery from Jofra Archer has hit him on the the right hand, on the back of the right hand, and that he had strapping on it already, and the physiotherapist is now out in the middle, and the glove is off. He's taken that strapping off, so clearly there was some kind of an injury there anyway, a niggle or a bruise, and the strapping's been taken off, and the physiotherapist is now manipulating the I'm not sure if they're what are they called, metacarpals or metatarsals, or are they in your feet, but the bones on the back of your hand. Bats, you had an observation there, did you? Are you gone? Okay, no, you're right.
I'm here. Yes.
What were you about to say?
Yeah, I think he had some strapping on his wrist, Shubman Gill. It was the I don't even know what the new sort of strapping's called, but it was more in and around sort of the wrist position that batters like sometimes, particularly on the bottom hand. They don't want it to be too flexible. They quite like to have it sort of rigid. And where the physio was looking, we're lucky to have the overhead camera. It was more around the knuckles of his hand where there wasn't really any sort of strapping. So fingers crossed he's going to be okay, because a man that's just come through Rahul Dravid's finishing school looking like this, I want to see a bit more of it. Not too long, but I definitely want to see a bit more. He looks absolutely wonderful, this young man.
Akash, you were saying
his participation in this his participation in this test was in a bit of doubt. He got injured, so that strapping that Gareth was just talking about, and that was one of the reasons why India did not even announce their playing 11 on the eve of the game, because they were waiting for Shubman Gill's fitness, Akshar Patel's fitness. He got hit while playing in the nets and was in some amount of discomfort.
Well, he's going to continue, thank goodness. 8 overs gone, India 37 for 1. Here's Ben Stokes into the attack, immediately around the wicket to Shubman Gill, whose first delivery is pulled away behind square on the leg side out towards Dom Bess. Around the wicket immediately, and it's certainly got one eyebrow raised on Darren Goff's forehead, if not both.
Well, this is a player, obviously. Well, there's no doubt, and he's a wonderful, wonderful cricketer, Ben Stokes. But I do rate his bowling highly, and I don't think England used him properly over the last couple of years. They've used him as a bit of an enforcer, a bit of a battering ram, just bowling short in spells. And I just get a feeling here he's come on with Shubman Gill looking to play that short ball and looking to play the hook shot. I think we might see a few short balls here from around the wicket from Ben Stokes. I would say that's why he's coming to the attack so early.
It is interesting, isn't it? As you said, I mean, it's clearly a play. I mean, it's a set strategy.
And they've used Ben Stokes like that on numerous occasions.
They've got a short leg, not very short, an orthodox square leg, and a leg gully. This is now Pujara on strike, and that one is left alone outside the off stump. Very good leave, actually. So the leg side theory for both Shubman Gill and Cheteshwar Pujara.
Well, to be fair, we talked about this with Akash yesterday, didn't we, about the one criticism of India's seamers, but they didn't bowl enough short balls. But I think England will definitely use that as part of their attack. They've got Jofra Archer who can do it in a short spell, and there's also Ben Stokes who's done it on numerous occasions for England in all conditions, whether it be in England, he did it in Sri Lanka, he did it beautifully in Sri Lanka. We were there, weren't we? Was it in Colombo that was? And he bowls long spells as well, Ben.
Here is Stokes once again. It is back of a length, and Pujara stands as tall as he can and pushes it away defensively on the leg side.
But what I will say, I'm surprised he's come straight round the wicket, especially as someone as skillful as Ben Stokes. The way he uses the crease really, really well. I'd like to see him come over the wicket to the two right-handers, because again, he still can get him out. Caught in the, caught behind, bowled LBW. So I was surprised he's gone straight round the wicket.
England bowled out eventually. 578. Here is Stokes once more, and it's more of a length ball here, just again blocked by Pujara out into the covers. Jimmy Anderson runs from point towards cover to pick up, and they have an easy single. India's reply 39 for 1. They've lost Rohit Sharma. Absolute beauty. There's a 90-mile-an-hour leg cutter that he's done very well. I don't know how Archer got so much movement off the seam, but Rohit Sharma did well to get an edge to it in the end. It was a straightforward catch to Joss Butler, but a beautiful, beautiful delivery. And India 39 for 1. Here is Stokes once again. It's a bouncer, too short in the end, and easily evaded by Shubman Gill.
Another thing as well, where he might be coming round the wicket so early, like I said, I'd still prefer him to come over to start with, is to run down different side of the wicket, and it creates some rough areas, all legal, it's all legal, some rough areas for the spinners, because we can see the left arm spinner bowling over the wicket. It's going to be in the game to left-handers, but I don't think India have got any until Pant comes in at number 7.
Or 6 maybe. Here's Stokes again, short and pulled by Shubman Gill. He's going to take it on, he doesn't mind that. Don Bess fields at deep backward square leg, and they go through for another single. India 40 for 1. Jared's got some numbers on that. What are you going to tell us about the short pitch leg theory?
No, more about the fact that Ben Stokes is on so early. So obviously he bowls first change in India more than he does anywhere else, because he's usually the third seamer in that case. But he's only bowled this early twice before, so it's very rare for him to come on. So clearly I think he was told he was going to have to up his load and bowl a little bit earlier. The other thing I just wanted to mention was that we had a situation where a Bayesian fast bowler hit the opposition star opening batsman in the hand, within a few hours of Ezra Mosley's passing, which is, as we talked about before, what he was famous for. So a very accidental homage by Jofra Archer, who probably would have known Ezra Mosley, I would have thought, and certainly would have known of him.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they didn't know each other. It's not the biggest population, is it, in Barbados? I think they were pushed away. Beautiful timing once again by Shubman Gill. That's glorious. Goodness gracious me. You bowl. Where do you bowl to Shubman Gill? Because he loves the short ball. He takes it on. He's an instinctive hooker and puller, and then you bowl full, and it's just eased away through mid-wicket. Steve Harmison, what a shot.
Yeah, beautiful shot, fantastic shot there by Shubman Gill. He's used the pace very, very nicely. And just talking about the round the wicket tactic, I just wonder to Shubman Gill, is it because he's quite happy to take the bouncer on, and England are hoping that the young man might possibly give his wicket away?
Here is Archer once again. Oh, it's driven in the air. What a catch, Jimmy Anderson at mid-on. Oh my goodness, he just couldn't resist the temptation of the drive. It was full and straight from Archer, and Shubman Gill driving in the air. Jimmy Anderson's taken a terrific low catch, diving back to the hands on the ground, and Shubman Gill, well, goodness me, he can't believe he's driven that ball in the air. Archer has his second wicket, and India are 44 for 2.
Well, this is what we talk about. You don't need 3 slips in and a gully. You need players in positions where they can catch the ball. He's quite short there, close in the mid-on. He's tried to drive slightly on the up. His feet were nowhere, and it's a gimme. It's an absolute gimme for Jofra Archer, but he'll take it. He's got 2 wickets already in this innings of India. 44 for 2 here, live on TalkSport 2. Massive, massive wicket for England and Jofra Archer.
How good was that catch, by the way? 38-year-old Jimmy Anderson diving full stretch. Just got it just before it hits the ground. Great bit of timing by Shubman Gill, and this is what I want to see from Archer. This is the one thing I want to see for Archer. In his first spell with a brand new SG ball, Jofra, I am not bothered. You can go at 6 and over if you want. You can go at 10 and over for your first 6 overs, but you've got to get me wickets. Get me early inroads. Get Kohli in. Get Pujara out. This is what you're in the team for, and boy, he's done that. He's bowled quickly. He's bowled aggressively. He's bowled hard into length. He's been whipped a couple of times. He's been pulled a couple of times before. I'm not bothered about that as a portable fast bowler. I want you to get wickets. And at this minute in time, Jofra Archer is sitting with 2 wickets in his 5 overs. A very, very good catch by Jimmy Anderson. And this is what England want. Within the first 10 overs, Virat Kohli, the Indian captain, is at the crease. This is the chance where England can really, really ram home the advantage.
Shubman Gill's numbers, 29 off 28 balls. You know, people look at that and think, what was he doing? Here's Archer to Virat Kohli, pushed away defensively, out on the offside. You walk out to open the batting, replying to a total of 578, and you make 29 off 28 balls. And yet, it wasn't like he was rash. I mean, he was just playing ordinary, beautiful cricket shots.
Great timing. Played beautifully, actually, but he'll be absolutely gutted. He's thrown his wicket away there. Yeah, Jofra's bowled well, bowled quickly. Perhaps that's why one is probably as far forward as he should have been, because he's bowling a decent heat, Jofra Archer, but he's given his wicket away.
Archer, bouncer, and Virat Kohli ducks underneath it. India 44 for 2.
To be fair, it wasn't too dissimilar to the ball before. He got it in and around sort of middle and leg. It's where he's quite strong. We've seen the overs before where it was well outside off stump, and VV S. Laxman picked it up through mid wicket. He likes to hit the ball through mid wicket. That one England have plugged the gap, and he's just tried to hit it straighter. He's just gone with the pace, tried to hit it straighter, and he's just kept a hold of the shot, not quite over the pitch of the ball.
2 slips in the gully, and that's pushed away past short leg. Ooh, that was a scary moment for India and for Virat Kohli. Extra bounce and pace from Jofra Archer, and Virat Kohli wasn't in control of that. He's pushed it behind short leg, behind square, and he gets a single, but that ball has really bounced. Actually, he's played that in front of his grill.
It nipped back at him as well. Really good short ball. And this is what they want, England. As Army said there, it's the new ball. They want Virat Kohli and the best player in the world. Jofra Archer fired up, wanting to dismiss him. And it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if they do bring Jimmy Anderson back as well to Virat Kohli. He has got him out on quite a few occasions. And if you're going to get him, it's with a new ball. So they could possibly bring back Jimmy Anderson in for Ben Stokes again.
Here is Archer, and that's another beauty. It's another leg cutter. It's just pitched and left the outside edge of Virat Kohli, who shakes his head. And I would say in admiration, but I think he hasn't got time to admire Jofra Archer. He's got to handle him. He's got to deal with it. 10 overs gone. India 45 for 2, and this Test match is absolutely buzzing. Another word from Harmy, and it'll be mine, Nicholas.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just wonder there if. Because of the way it bounced to Joss Butler, if it just disturbed the surface. We haven't seen a replay of that delivery, but the 2 balls before have really sort of gone through at Virat Kohli. The one that hit him on the glove, the one that he got off strike, and that one there to Pujara, I think it just disturbed the surface, and that's brilliant for the England bowler because it's in the batsman's mind. Bowl on the hardness of the surface, on the trueness of the surface. Jofra Archer, 141, 142, 146 he bowled in that last over. Really, really aggressive into length to the Indian batsman. And the last ball just spat at and didn't come off as well as what the others did. So, food for thought for the Indian batsman.
Yeah, said it before, when it comes down to England, they've bowled a lot of balls where they've not really been ideally seam up, is it? And definitely it's taken a little bit of the surface. It's dry, the pitch, we know that. It's on day 3, just before lunch, and now and again they don't get the ball exactly on the seam. It's just taken a little bit of the surface, which is great for England, looking forward with 578 on the board.
Well, it's exactly the reason you bat on as long as England did and grinded in this morning. Here's Ben Stokes bowling round the wicket to Virat Kohli and bangs it into the surface, and a little misfield at square leg, which is infuriating for everybody, not least the culprit at square leg, who's Dan Lawrence. 46 for 2. If you've just joined us, England batted on, you'd say successfully, given the target is, as I say, to grind them in and add a few to the scoreboard and cause a bit of humiliation and pain, and that's what England managed to do. Finally bowled out for 578, and now India 46 for 2. And it's been riveting cricket, actually. Jofra Archer's bowled superbly, pretty fast and clever lengths, hasn't wasted much. Here's Stokes again, and this time a beautiful cut stroke from Pujara that races down to third man for 4. The ball was a little short and a little wide. That's the thing with Stokes, that he hasn't had much bowling because he's striving to take wickets. He will occasionally leak runs, and that's what he's done there. It's a good stroke from Pujara, who waited almost till the ball was past him before playing the stroke. All you don't want to do is by bowling enough bad balls, get Pujara working. I think if you keep him tied down, he can almost begin to dig his own hole, but of course he's a very resilient man, and that's nicely played. On the back foot is Pujara, drops it out onto the offside for a single where there's a big space. He's a very organised batsman, and he has an even more organised mind. 14 from 22 balls, Kohli just a couple from the 4 balls that he's faced. It's 51 for 2. I'm
not a big fan of this round of wicket tactic from Ben Stokes with the newer ball. The way we talked about how the Indian bowlers, angle a ball in and nip the ball away, Sharma and Bumrah. Stokes is a bit like that, and I would like to see him do that from over the wicket while he's got the new ball in hand.
Yeah, I mean, the tactic is clear as he bangs one into the pitch and Kohli ducks underneath it, is to bowl round the wicket at the throat of both opponents in very short bursts. But you could argue that's wasting the new ball if you're thinking of movement. It's not wasting it if you're thinking it's as hard as it's ever going to be to do it now.
Yep, it's a definite tactic. I think if you watch that last test match in Australia when India were over there, Pujara played so well, but they absolutely peppered him, didn't they? And he got hit on quite a few occasions. And Virat Kohli, he likes to play that short ball.
Kohli's back and across to that shortish ball from Stokes and plays it very well. He gets himself into line nicely. He seems to have time to play. Having said that, he took a hand off the bat, which shows you the impact of the ball was enough to jar the hand a little.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. We saw with Shubman Gill, he had the odd pull shot. We've seen Virat Kohli had a pull shot already. We've seen him fend one off from Jofra Archer. So I think they're just going to test these two out for 2 or 3 overs and see what happens, because if on these sort of surfaces, when it is taking a piece, if you're going to have the odd pull shot, there's a chance you could make a mistake.
Back of a length, Kohli into line, tries to work a run to a short leg's right hand, but short, no problem really, doesn't time it well enough. The short leg bends down, picks it up, thinks of shining it, throws it to mid on, and it's the end of the over. 51 for 2, Pujara 14, Kohli 2, and very much the Jofra Archer story this morning. Bowled 5 overs, 2 for 25, and might have taken a couple more. He's beaten the bat on occasions. I'd call it a smart spell, and with this pair in, I'd be inclined to give him another. It was an interesting point about using Anderson again, given his record against Kohli. The only thing is it didn't swing at all, and whether or not they're just waiting for that lacquer to wear off the dry abrasive surface just to scuff the ball and therefore see if it reverses early.
I actually thought Jimmy Anderson was trying to move it back into the off stump. I think quite a number of balls, when you've seen them again in replay in slow motion, the seam was canted to more towards the off stump, more in swing rather than away swing. I don't think Jimmy Anderson tried to swing too many balls away from the outsider's right hand. I think a lot of Jimmy Anderson's thought process was like we had the discussion yesterday, Mark, can we get it onto off stump and try and get the ball to go in between bat and pad, because they're very, very strong through the leg side, and if they get the shape wrong, there is a little gap there, and I think that's what Jimmy was looking for.
As Joe Root gets Jack Leach organised to begin his first spell of what one imagines will be a few spells and a lot of overs, at the Anna Pavilion end of the ground. We've had a few shots of the England dressing room, so Archer's out of the attack. They probably sort of have given that a bit of thought and reckon 5 overs is max in this humidity. Jack Leach with a harder ball and a prouder seam. Who's to say he isn't to rip a glove off, as they like to say.
Yeah, just surprised though. He bowled one ball to Virat Kohli and he's fended it off to short legs. So I thought he might have had one more over.
So would I. Leach is on line and length, pretty good. Maybe a bit leg side-ish, but anyway, pushed down to short leg, and there's no run from Pujara. 14 from 23 balls. Leach bowled tidily in Sri Lanka. Played his part in winning that second test. That's a little short, and Pujara goes back. As so often is the case in the modern game, when he drives he only gets a single for it because there's a sweeper out there.
The thing with Jack Leach, and as I say, I've been around him, I'm not a spin coach or anything, but been around him in New Zealand only last year. One thing about him is he thinks a lot about his game, and he's one of them who needs to be bowling every single day. So it'll be interesting how he does perform here as he just bowled.
That was a back defensive stroke from Virat Kohli. He waited on the back foot and worked the ball out onto the offside.
But it'll be interesting to see how he performs now.
Leach with his the back of his bald pate going away from us, drops an iota short, and again on the back foot is pushed out into the covers for a single. So already we've seen in those few balls, 3 balls, the key is to get it up, get it slow and up, and get the batsman playing forward defensively, or indeed looking to drive you and see if you get some bounce. But if you get a bit of dip on the ball, get it up there. Don't be shy of getting it up there. It's a message to Jack Leach of Somerset. Up there it is, and great footwork down the pitch from Cheteshwar Pujara. Beautiful timing of the ball through the leg side for a boundary to mid-wicket.
Yeah, what I was saying about Jack Leach, he was just getting into some kind of rhythm in Sri Lanka, didn't he? He had 2 good innings where he bowled well and 2 average innings. But he's come to India, they've had to do some isolation period of 5 days, and then he's straight into a test match after sitting on his backside for 2 days. And it'll be interesting to see how he does bowl today.
Well, he'll be very nervous for sure. He bowls now, and that's nice. Forward defensive from Pujara, 19 from 25 balls, the end of Jack Leach's first over, not his most threatening. It's 57 for 2 in Chennai, where India are in pursuit of England's 578. Finally bowled out this morning, having fought on gamely, and then we saw a brilliant new ball burst from Jofra Archer. He picked up both openers, the second of them thanks to a fabulous catch by James Anderson at mid-on. The ball was hit firm, not hard but firm, and he had to move swiftly to his left and low around about ankle height, and he's got such great hands. Of course, I'm sure that Archer was relieved it was going to Anderson. Only Stokes probably, and Root at his best, would be as guaranteed to catch the ball as James Anderson was at mid-on. A lot of fiddling around with his helmet for Virat Kohli, and a long chat now between Root and who is it coming on to bowl? Is it Dom Bess?
Yeah, Dom Bess, yeah.
Both spinners into the attack very early, which tells us that Root definitely thinks the ball will reverse early, and that he's happy to have the spinners for a few overs just to see if the ball gets distressed quickly, you have fresh seamers to use it.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And I think the challenge for the 2 spinners, that last ball there by Jack Leach, and Bats will probably tell us better, that it's one thing getting it up there, but it's getting up there with the right pace on it, and getting up there with some trajectory, the right trajectory, but the right pace behind it. Because the one criticism probably of Leach and Best during that Sri Lankan series is when they did get it up there wasn't much on it, and when they did bowl it that little bit quicker to try and turn it was just too short, and it was easy sort of knocked down to deep backward square leg or deep point, and it was a release for the batsman. And it's one thing doing it against Sri Lanka, but this is just a different level of batsmanship again.
Best with his haircut pretty short, as is so often the trend these days, short at the sides anyway, and a pair of shades on, number 47 on his back. Sponsors on his front. Here he comes. Bowls to Virat Kohli, the great Indian batsman. And he's a little full, and Kohli drives firmly mid on his deep, so he gets a easy single, which always, well, it's just not a tactic I agree with.
Well, not just before lunch. The ball's spinning, you've got loads of runs on the board. I would get if Kohli was in here, but it's just before lunch. You're trying to sneak a wicket. You want to tempt him down the pitch, surely. Surely.
Yeah, well, I just don't give an easy single. It's so satisfactory for a batsman. If only a bowler knew that. Well, Best bats. He bats well, actually. And now he bowls a good one to Pujara, who defends half and half. Ball rolls out onto the leg side, where the fielding is done by the man at short leg. Yeah, Best bats well. I would have thought he would realise keeping mid on up, not giving an easy single was the way to go. If he wants to jump down the pitch, even a man of Kohli's credentials, he wants to jump down the pitch and hit it over the top in the moments before lunch, then good luck to him. 4 for 49 in the second innings in Gaul for Dom Bess. It was that first innings, 5 for, where he said he can't remember bowling less well and taking more wickets. But the game tends to even itself up. Days he'll bowl well and not get as many. Now down the pitch comes Pujara, tries to drive, gets too close to it actually, so hits it off the bottom of the bat to short mid-wicket, where Rory Burns does the fielding. In contrast to Bess, who shaved a lot of his hair off, Rory has let his grow. More of the rock star look. Bess again. A bit short this time, and Pujara goes back and works it just behind square, and they sprint through for a single. Kohli's so quick. Kohli's cricket is alert, constantly alert for opportunity. One of the great players of the modern era. I saw him make 200s on a turning pitch in Adelaide a few years back. He dealt brilliantly with Nathan Lyon and of course all the Australian seamers, and nearly took India to a famous victory. Couldn't quite pull it off. He waits now for Dom Bess. That's a great line from Bess. Nice attacking line just outside off stump. It drew Kohli into an area he'd be less comfortable than if the ball was straighter.
He's also got a bit to prove to himself as well in the team, because you got to remember, in Australia, that Test Series victory was without Kohli really for most of it.
Yeah, well, the game he played was the game they were hammered in, bowled out for 36. Very rare Kohli has such an ordinary match as he goes back to defend Dom Bess on the back foot, so no threat from either of the spinner in their first over. One bowl by Leach and one by Bess. 13 overs gone, 59 for 2 in response to England's 578. Pujara has 20, Kohli has 4. Pujara the great defender, Kohli the great magician. Both of them very talented. In a way, this is comparable to having Dravid and Tendulkar at the crease in the old days. Two slightly contrasting players, but equally good for sure. Fantastic players, equally comfortable in their own conditions, equally committed to the task of saving the match for India.
Yeah, and they've got experience on their side, and being in this position, probably not with the amount of runs that England got, but they've been in this position many times before. When batting second in the Test match, there's been a score on the board, and not having that scoreboard pressure, having the experience they've got, it's not like the Shubman Gill, who probably is consistently looking at the scoreboard. So England have gone back to seam. You know, the experiment of Jack Leach hasn't worked, and now back to Ben Stokes.
Yes, immediate change. Stokes bowls a good straight ball from over the wicket. So I think what they've decided here is go back, try to hit the seam, get it a little fuller, and maybe use a surprise bouncer. Whereas once you commit to bowling round the wicket, you're committing to certainly 3 balls and over, if not 4, banged into the middle of the pitch.
Well, you are, and you're taking out that possibility of an LBW, one that just slips back from outside off stump onto the stumps, are bowled. It's harder when he's coming round the wicket to a right-hander to get the dismissal. And it's a tactic England do use a lot with Ben Stokes.
Nicely bowled, and there you see that one just moves away a little because Stokes comes just a bit wide. He's only got to hit the seam, and it might well hold its line. So that actually bounced low too, didn't carry through to Jos Buttler as he scrambled the seam, and it's a good way to bowl on this pitch. Goffey's already mentioned that.
But the thing with Stokes as well, he hits the pitch hard. Ben's all effort. He's all, real, effort at the shoulder, and he hits the pitch hard. And if the pitch has got something in it where there's disturbing the surface, misbehaves, that's when he's in the game.
Bowls a good length ball that Pujara pushes to mid-wicket. He's a fantastic athlete. Have you seen that Red Bull ad when he's in that warehouse doing a training session?
Brilliant, isn't it?
Well, he's an amazing athlete, full stop. I mean, he works as hard on his fitness as anybody I've ever seen. Seen him up close and seen him work every single day in the gym. They had to actually stop him because he was doing too much at one point. He'd bowl in the nets, then go back for an hour, then he'd go in the gym before. Do you know, I saw him in the gym before a test match.
In Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
I know. And also, wait a minute, here we go with Stokes again now. Another good ball on a length. It's a good over so far, and it's defended pretty comfortably by Pujara. Before that one-day international, we were sort of on the peloton.
Well, just went for a walk.
you were walking, I was cycling, but at no great pace. And behind us, Stokes was working out. I think it probably on that occasion more stretches and gentle stuff to get the body working before they jumped on the team bus. But there he was, committed to the cause. England wait. Stokes now at the crease. Bowls, good length, good line, left alone by Pujara outside off stump. There's promise in this over in that there's a hint of movement, and that Stokes seems to find a little rhythm.
And Army talked there about hitting a pitch hard, and that's again when you go away from home or you play on a pitch that's in its third and fourth day or fifth day in any form of the game, you have to hit that length as hard as you possibly can, because like I said, you can get your rewards because it can either bounce, get a bit of extra bounce off a crack, or it can skid low.
And left alone again outside off stump. At the end of that Ben Stokes over, 59 for 2, Pujara 20, Kohli 4. The other thing about Ben Stokes is his hair, the fact that there is some now. You know more about that than I, Goffey.
Mate, there's a few. I think cricketers tend to go for growing their hair, not the orthodox way, and it's worked for Ben Stokes.
Oh, hello, they've come off for lunch. I thought they were going to squeeze one more in, but they haven't. The umpires have now taken the bails off, and Pujara and Kohli make their way from the field of play, satisfied to remain unbeaten. Another wicket before lunch would have been traumatic, frankly, for the dressing room. In fact, there's rather an anticlimax about everybody leaving the field of play at the moment. Masses of ground staff come on, but I can't believe there's much for them to do other than just sweep the ends where the bowlers have made their footmarks. So Kohli again, another one with a very shaven head. Just that little bit of hair left on the top, and that's cropped pretty short. And Pujara a similar look. England's players chatty as they leave the field, but it's all fairly gentle. That hasn't taken too much out of them, but Jofra Archer gets some pats on the back for his remarkable opening spell. He bowled quite fast, not at his fastest, but quite fast, and particularly well. So applause on both sides of the pavilion for England and the 2 wickets they've taken, for Kohli and Pujara for surviving until lunch. 59 for 2. Rohit Sharma caught Butler, bowled Archer, one that bounced and left him. For 6, Shubman Gill drove firmly to mid-on. Anderson took a fine catch. Nice full-length straight ball from Archer. Gill played some glorious strokes. 29 in just 28 balls. A joy to watch. Pujara, Kohli. Then the men to come: Ajinkya Rahane, Rishabh Pant, Washington Sundar, Ravi Ashwin, Shahbaz Nadeem, Ishant Sharma, and Jasprit Bumrah.
We've got to remember as well, back to day one, I think England were in a similar position going into lunch on day one, 60 odd for 2. Well, India are sitting there, 59 for 2. It's all looked rather comfortable for them, except for the pace of Jofra Archer. I thought he bowled beautifully. Army was right. You just want him to run in, don't you, with that new ball, especially in these conditions. And if he goes for 5 or 6 in all, so what? Pick up some wickets, because it's not going to be easier when he comes back for his second and third spells. The spinners are going to play a big part in the afternoon, but the seamers can still chip in with the odd wicket here and there, and Jofra has already got 2 to his name.
Yeah, perfect session for me for England. They've got battered a bit of time. They've come out. India have look to get off to a start where you want Jofra to take wickets. He has done. He comes back hopefully after lunch with a 3 or a 4 over burst. and try and get another wicket, because this is a huge partnership. And if Jofra Archer can have a nice lunch, 40 minutes with his boots up, 3 or 4 overs after lunch, and make a breakthrough, then that will stand England in great stead to really set up, hopefully, and ram home the advantage in this Test match.